One Piece Heaven Defying, Awakening the Dark Lord Part 8. When did it appear? Rengoku Kaijuro was very puzzled. Even if the fight was fierce, how could he not feel someone suddenly appearing beside him? Or is this guy also a ghost? No, this aura is clearly human. Who is he? An ordinary human? No one in the Demon Slayer Corps has ever seen him, nor have I heard other pillars mention the existence of other powerful people. Rengoku Kaijuro's eyes fell on the unknown knife on the waist of the black-haired young man. Countless guesses emerged in his mind, but he had no idea about the origin of the person in front of him. The golden pupils of Upper 3 shrank slightly, revealing a hint of surprise. Interesting guy, he can actually approach the battlefield quietly. Huh? There's no pillar power in your body? You're just an ordinary person? When he saw through the energy in the young man's body, he was even more surprised. Ordinary people appearing beside them quietly. It's unlikely no matter how you think about it. The fierce battle suddenly became eerily quiet because of the appearance of an uninvited guest. Several eyes were looking at the sudden arrival with curiosity. Find out his identity. The black-haired young man had a calm expression, but there was an indescribable arrogance and domineering aura in his eyes, and an air of arrogance that made him feel like the only one who is superior to others emerged spontaneously. As if he was not used to it, he stretched his body, making a series of crisp sounds like beans popping, and his body straightened up a little, as if he had been suppressed before. His eyes, revealing an invisible domineering look, slowly swept across the field. He looked at the Upper 3, Rengoku Kaijuro, and Tanjiro unscrupulously. Suddenly he nodded slightly, showing a hint of realization. It's like entering a strange place for the first time and figuring out the situation. This person is Yun, who traveled through the space boundary and descended from the pirate world. And arrived in the world. It's Demon World. Yun still had some impression of these guys in front of him, and also had a preliminary understanding of this world. But as an obvious outsider, he is oppressed by the world here. Just like the laws of nature, they do not allow uncontrolled people to appear. Or maybe it was some mysterious being that felt uneasy because of the threat from an equally powerful being. In any case, Yun was suppressed to a certain extent at this time. What he needs to do is to turn this world into a shadow kingdom so that he can completely control the world. These guys aren't a threat anymore. After Yun understood, he didn't care anymore. The Demon Slayer Corps and the demons. They are at a level that they cannot afford to provoke even if they are slightly suppressed. This world is far less powerful than the pirate world. So, Yun did not intend to deal with the problem in a complicated way, and just used force to overcome everything. It was at this time. Rengoku Kaijuro urged him. Leave quickly, it's dangerous here. There is no smell of ghosts. He treated Yun as a normal human being. You come and go as you please, but you don't have permission. Human, who are you? The Upper 3 looked at Yun coldly and asked with a grin. His fight was interrupted, and he was not prepared to let Yun leave. His golden pupils flashed with a captivating light, and he stared at Yun with a cruel look on his face, releasing a chilling murderous intent. He can twist off his opponent's head at any time. The upper rank 3 also displays the arrogance and domineering nature of an upper rank demon. But unfortunately, the person he met was Yun. When Yun heard these words, which were like looking down on an ant, a look of helplessness appeared on his face. But his aura suddenly became terrifying. The situation is changing. The breath disturbs the air around. Conqueror's Kamui revealed. Invisible electric arcs suddenly became apparent, flickering in the surrounding space, like dark red free-swimming snakes flying through the air. The ground could not bear the pressure and began to crack. The sky was filled with strange phenomena, as if the end of the world had come. Setting off Yun, he is like the emperor who reigns supreme for all eternity. Such a horrifying scene made Rengoku Kaijuro's face change drastically, and he said in bewilderment, Who is he? How can he have such a powerful force? Even if the Madara pattern is activated, it can't reach such a level. It is unimaginable that one person's aura can affect the changes of heaven and earth. Who on earth is this person? Tanjiro's face was filled with fear. He was deeply shocked by the scene before him. His mouth was wide open, unable to speak. The eyes of Upper 3 shrank drastically. What kind of power is this? Madara pattern? Transparent world? He was completely confused. How could I have imagined that this situation would happen? This guy who looked like just an ordinary person actually burst out with terrifying power and oppression comparable to that of the Supreme Realm. The highest realm in his mind now is nothing more than the Supreme Realm. Now, seeing Yuan on the third day of the waxing moon is like a frog in a well looking up at the moon. When he is lucky enough to enter the Supreme Realm one day, when he sees Yuan again, he will be like a mayfly looking up at the sky. But now, the frog in the well has no self-awareness. It is even less likely to think of yourself as a mayfly. He even wanted to launch an attack on Yuan. And just at this moment, the figure in the air suddenly looked down at Upper 3. Those eyes contained endless arrogance and tyranny. Did I allow you to speak? Yuan looked down indifferently and shouted in judgment. The third of Upper Moon froze, his expression changed drastically, and a chill spread from the soles of his feet to his entire body. He just said that Yuan was not allowed to leave, but the situation turned around and Yuan asked directly, "Are you allowed to speak?" At this moment, the 3 upper-rank beings were all dumbfounded. He had lived for so many years and never thought that this day would come. Upper rank 3's body was trembling slightly, not sure if it was because of fear or excessive anger. Destruction kill air style! Upper rank 3 suddenly shouted, unleashed a magical technique, and punched through the air to face the oppression. The ultimate 6-hit combo penetrated the void and blasted towards the arrogant and domineering figure in the sky. He actually had the courage to attack Yuan. Whoosh! The 6 consecutive attacks, so fierce that they were difficult to detect with the naked eye, missed. The golden eyes of Upper 3 tremble. He lost sight of Yuan. The next moment, bang! Upper rank 3's eyes went dark as he was slammed into the ground by a kick that came from the sky. He couldn't struggle on his feet, and boundless fear and horror spread in his heart. I was killed instantly by a kick? Rengoku Kaijuro stared at the scene in front of him with a dull look in his eyes, as if he were in a dream. Tanjiro was completely dumbfounded. Upper rank 3 was knocked down by a kick. How could this happen? What's your name, kid? Yuan lowered his head slightly, looked down at Upper 3 with a disdainful gaze, and asked in a low voice. Little ghost? The veins on Upper 3's forehead throbbed. How could he, the Upper 3, be called like this before? He gritted his teeth and tried desperately to perform the spell. Noticing the actions of the little devil under his feet, his arrogant gaze suddenly became cold, but his unparalleled domineering intention did not diminish in the slightest. You were asked to speak, but you stopped talking? Yuan lowered his eyes, showing a hint of pity, but his feet were merciless. Then don't speak. Bang! Footstepping. The hexagonal snowflake pattern has just appeared. The peach-colored short-haired head suddenly exploded. Tanjiro's mouth was dry, his eyes were completely dull, his mind was blank, and he lay on the ground with his mouth open, unable to speak. Kill Upper rank 3 with one kick. What a strength this is! Tanjiro had never seen such a terrifying monster before. It was even scarier than Muzan Kibutsuji. Rengoku Kaijuro's thoughts were in a state of confusion. Even though he was the flame pillar, he still found it hard to accept that the powerful Upper rank 3 was killed by a single kick from a mysterious man. Sir, who are you? The tone of his voice changed, with a hint of respect. He suspected that this young guy was a monster that had lived for hundreds of years, but he didn't know whether he was a human or a ghost. Yuan ignored Rengoku Kaijuro's words. You comprehend the regenerative power of the ghost, and create the shadow regeneration law. Along with the roar of footsteps, a familiar prompt sounded in Yuan's mind. Regeneration power, this is indeed a way to improve the physical body, but this abnormal regeneration method is only suitable for shadows. Yuan had a clear judgment in his mind. The so-called ghosts cannot be killed, and the crude means limited to the world in front of us cannot do it. In Yuan's eyes, this ability is not worthy of being mentioned in the upper class. When he confirmed that he could travel through realms and return, the things he planned were naturally different from before. Such is the Emperor's expansion of territory. Those who follow me will prosper. Those who oppose me will die. Click, click. The headless body of Upper 3 that rolled to the side began to heal again, and in the blink of an eye, its head reunited. His face was full of panic, but there was also a hint of relief. Fortunately, I have the ability to regenerate myself, so the other party cannot kill me completely. Otherwise, I would really die. Upper String 3 felt a palpitation, his golden pupils shrank and he stared at Yuan, angrily saying, I am very curious about your identity and your power. You don't have the aura of a pillar, but you still have such a powerful power, it's really exciting. Perhaps your appearance will allow the ghost to find a new evolutionary path. Become a ghost. Only ghosts are immortal. Just like you stepped on my head but couldn't kill me. Do you want to gain this power of immortality? Join us. Become a ghost. Upper 3 sounds excited. He found someone more interesting than the pillar. If such a person becomes a ghost, he will be extremely powerful. Sir, please do not be bewitched by him, Rengoku Kaijuro said anxiously. The worst possible scenario suddenly emerged in his mind. The powerful man who had just appeared in front of him became a ghost. That would be a catastrophe for humanity. It's so noisy. Yuan shook his head, looked at Upper String 3 with a calm gaze, and said calmly, Who gave you the confidence that I can't kill you? He was curious about one thing. Even a guy as pretentious as Upper Rank 3 was not killed. How weak are the so-called Demon Slayer Corps? The words fell. Suddenly, thunder flashed in the sky. In the deep night sky, a bolt of lightning streaked down. It's like the wrath of heaven, sending down punishment. Huh! Why is there thunder out of nowhere? Hinata Yaninasuk looked at the lightning streaking across the sky and suddenly had a bad feeling, so he rushed over here in a hurry. After dealing with his opponent, Agatsuma Zenitsu was also shocked by the lightning filled with powerful energy. This lightning is more powerful than the breath of thunder. Isn't their battle over yet? Whoosh! He ran with all his might towards the direction where the lightning was falling. Thunder shines in the sky. Instantly fell. It condensed into a lightning blade that tore through the shadow of lightning and mercilessly slashed down at the Upper 3. Methods to trigger lightning attack? Upper 3 Akaza opened his eyes wide, filled with incredible shock. What scares him most is, the lightning blade was filled with an aura that made one fear from the bottom of one's heart. Will this really kill me? Akaza was startled by the thought that emerged in his mind. After a brief blank, he quickly tried to escape from the lightning blade attack. Click. The crisp sound is particularly pleasant. Akaza looked at the motionless body. His golden eyes lowered his head in astonishment, and what he saw was that the ice that had condensed at some point had firmly fixed his feet, making it difficult for him to move. When? Akaza's body trembled slightly, and the fear in his heart surged out like an uncontrollable tide. Thunder and lightning. Ice. What are these means? Not to mention Akaza was stunned. Even the flame pillar Rengoku Kaijuro didn't react to what happened. He watched the sudden lightning strike, and then he found that Akaza's feet were frozen. Ice frozen. Weird ability. Rengoku Kaijuro's face was solemn, and he looked at Yuan with more respect. Judging from this attack alone, the person in front of me is definitely not to be provoked. Otherwise, it will bring great disaster to the Demon Slayer Corps. This is Rengoku Kaijuro's judgment of the current situation. To put it bluntly, I don't dare to provoke Yuan. Sizzle! Thunder dances. A pale white arm with tattoos flew out like a broken branch, drew a graceful arc, and fell to the ground. Blood oozed out, staining the ground with deep red. Akaza's eyes gradually widened, and fear was clearly visible in his golden pupils. He looked at the black-haired young man walking towards him step by step, and his whole body couldn't stop shaking. He discovered something horrifying. The wound on his broken arm was extremely smooth, like the polished appearance of fine porcelain, but it was filled with an unknown force that prevented him from growing a new arm. No matter how he used up the strength and blood in his body, he could not form a new arm. This means that lightning blade is more terrifying than the sun blade. How is this possible? I am a ghost, an immortal ghost. How can my arms not grow? What kind of move is this? Akaza looked at Yuan and almost collapsed. As Yuan got closer, the pressure he felt grew, and his uncontrollable trembling grew more intense. Akaza, I am upper rank 3, Akaza. Akaza accidentally met Yuan's gaze and was shocked, but he understood the meaning in Yuan's eyes and immediately explained in panic. Yuan had asked his name, but he had not yet answered. But now, just a look of intimidation made him speak obediently without any hesitation. Otherwise, you will really die. Akaza, go back and ask Muzan to come see me. If you don't want to die, be proactive. Otherwise, I might suddenly get upset and kill you all. Yuan ordered coldly. Having said that, he walked past Akaza and went straight towards Rengoku Kaijuro. I will definitely inform Master Muzan. Akaza's eyes trembled and he spoke in a trembling voice. Bang! After saying this, his body suddenly lost its strength and leaned forward, and he fell to his knees on the ground. The moment Yuan passed by him just now, the sense of oppression reached its peak. Akaza felt at that moment as if thousands of mountains were pressing down on him at the same time, making it hard to breathe. He seemed to have forgotten that he didn't need to breathe. He just felt that strong and suffocated. It also means that the unknown man is unshakable. Today is definitely the most desperate and terrifying day in Akaza's hundreds of years as a ghost. Revolt? He really didn't take Yuan seriously at first. Now I regret my ignorance. Akaza forgot to resist. Subconsciously, I think that Un is invincible. At least he can't do it. Maybe Muzan Kibutsuji can. He wasn't sure. The most important thing is the power to kill ghosts. It's completely different from the method of the Sun Blade, but it can prevent a severed arm from growing. This is what Akaza fears the most. Because even the Nichiren sword cannot do this in this situation. The Nichiren sword can only kill the demon by chopping off its head, and the rest of the damage can be recovered. Now, the Thunder Blade contains the power to restrain ghosts. How can we not feel fear and awe? At this moment, Akaza's fear of Yuan exceeded his awe of Muzan Kibutsuji. Senior, I am the current flame pillar, Rengoku Kaijuro. Who are you? When Rengoku Kaijuro saw Yuan approaching step by step, cold sweat broke out on his forehead, and he spoke respectfully. He still couldn't help asking. Very curious about Yuan's identity. Rengoku Kaijuro. Let's go and meet your lord. Yuan nodded, slightly impressed, and gave instructions. As for my identity, there is no need to explain it now. He wants to turn this world into the kingdom of shadows. First, he needs to spread the will of the Shadow Emperor throughout the world. Then, the shadow will spread everywhere in the world. Finally, it will easily transform into the original power of the world, which means completely controlling the world. Direct and brutal, it means making everyone submit to the Shadow Emperor. That should be enough to subdue Muzan Kibutsuji and the Demon Slayer Corps. Yuan planned in his mind, obviously not intending to waste a lot of time. Meet our lord? Rengoku Kaijuro couldn't stop the cold sweat from flowing down his forehead, and he became more and more panicked. You're bringing him to see the lord before you can tell if he's a friend or an enemy? He was full of fear of Yuan, but he still hesitated at this moment. What? Don't you want to lead the way? Yuan glanced at him sideways, then suddenly spoke softly. Rengoku Kaijuro's body trembled as if he had been hit hard. The extreme feeling of oppression suffocated him. It seems as if the other person can control his life and death with just a thought. We can't leave! Upper string 3 is right in front of us, we must not let him go. If you were a human, you shouldn't let such a powerful ghost go. Tanjiro propped himself up, gripped the Nichiren sword tightly, and limped towards Akaza, who was kneeling with his back to the crowd, wanting to put an end to upper rank 3. He was filled with passion and held on to his belief and principle of killing ghosts. He would not show any mercy to ghosts that had killed people. The upper rank 3 in front of us has killed many of the pillars. Deadly enemy. Phew! An invisible storm suddenly spread. A hand formed by shadows, surrounded by flashing dark arcs of lightning, grabbed Tanjiro like a bolt of thunder out of the blue. The speed is not fast, but it is full of absolute dominance. Control life and death, and destroy the tyranny of all living beings. Tanjiro's eyes narrowed, he clenched his teeth, and swung his sword with all his strength towards the shadow hand in front of him. The god of fire Kagura, Bairo no Ten! This attack drained all of Tanjiro's strength. From top to bottom, a circular slash wrapped in flames was launched. Bang! The dull sound was like a torpedo exploding in the deep sea, vague and dull. The flaming blow that landed on Shadow's palm suddenly dissipated. It is ridiculous for an ant to try to shake a tree. Tanjiro's eyes suddenly widened as he stared in horror at the shadow that looked like a Shinigami hand grabbing his Nichiren sword. Snap! A clear breaking sound. And then in everyone's shocked eyes, the sun blade in Tanjiro's hand shattered into pieces with a loud bang and scattered all over the ground. Sun blade! Sun blade! Tanjiro's eyes widened, his mind going blank. He was completely stunned. Sun blade. The Demon Slayer Corps' special sword. This sword is made of Gorilla Scarlet Sand Iron that has absorbed sunlight and is extremely hard. But now, it breaks easily like a toy. Or it broke into pieces. The sun blade is broken. Tanjiro collapsed at this moment. Rengoku Kaijuro's eyes dulled for a moment. What kind of power does he possess to be able to destroy the sun blade so easily? Who is he? Akaza, who had just stood up, heard the noise behind him, and his heart became even colder. The Nichiren sword that could kill demons was broken? He didn't even dare to look back and staggered into the darkness. Inosuke Hashibara and Zenitsu Agatsuma, who had arrived, were hiding in the dark, preparing to pick up Rengoku Kaijuro and Tanjiro. But when they saw this scene, they were so frightened that their whole bodies instantly turned cold, as if a bucket of ice water had been poured from head to toe. The sun blade was broken just like that. I'm afraid it's not a fake knife. For a moment, Inosuke Hashibara and Zenitsu Agatsuma forgot to stop Akaza from escaping. Yuen just wanted him to go back and find Muzan Kibutsuji. As for Tanjiro, Yuen just turned his head and looked at him calmly. Young man, if you want to be a brave hero in a passionate chapter, you might as well go to hell and be your hero. Bang! The shadow's palm instantly grabbed Tanjiro's neck. Tanjiro's face turned red instantly. His feet gradually left the ground and he struggled, without any strength in his hands. Will you leave? Yuen turned to look at Rengoku Kaijuro, waiting for his answer. Of course, this looks more like a threat. I'll take you there, senior. Please let him go. Rengoku Kaijuro came to his senses instantly, and quickly pleaded for mercy. Lead the way. As soon as Yuen thought about it, the shadow palm disappeared instantly. Tanjiro fell to the ground and started coughing loudly. At that moment just now, he felt death coming. I am only one step away from death. Almost died! Tanjiro couldn't calm down at all. But he suddenly discovered something. Wait. My injury is healed? Tanjiro seemed to be dreaming. He almost killed me, but he still helped me heal my wounds. Why is that? Wrong. The injury healed really well. Here's how it's done. When Tanjiro finally reacted, his brain completely shut down. Unbelievable, a fairy tale. I must be still asleep. Are you a god? Tanjiro was completely convinced. People are accustomed to calling things that transcend the limits of common sense miracles. And the one who performs miracles, nature is God. Tanjiro could only describe this incredible treatment method as a miracle. Because only Yun's power touched him. Besides, unless I turn into a ghost, it is impossible to perfectly repair my injuries in the blink of an eye. Tanjiro certainly knew that he had not turned into a demon. Then only Yun cured him. A miracle has come. Tanjiro, what are you talking about? Are you healed from such a serious injury? Tanjiro's actions directly made Rengoku Kaijuro unable to cope with the situation. Such a serious injury. Even a month of recuperation may not fully heal you. Not to mention, it just happened in the blink of an eye. It's even scarier than the power of a ghost. Yun didn't care at all, he just did it casually. To scare them, and Tanjiro might be able to become a force in his hands, he would not just watch the other person die. As for the murderous intention just now, it completely depends on the attitude of Purgatory and Juro. Yellow-haired kid, pig-headed kid, come out, Yun said calmly. Have you been discovered? My wife, Zenitsu, was shocked. Inosuke's body froze. You guys come out quickly. Purgatory Xingjiang hurriedly urged, fearing that Yun would do it himself. Judging from Yun's action of treating Tanjiro, he was slightly relieved that the situation was not the worst, otherwise the other party would not treat Tanjiro's injuries. But it shattered the Nichiren sword again. Although it is incredible, there is no time to think so much now. Yes, Mr. Purgatory. My wife, Zenitsu, jumped out from behind the tree and came to Tanjiro's side. She subconsciously looked at the wound on his stomach. After realizing that it was really healed, her breathing suddenly became rapid. Inosuke Sahiro walked out of the bushes and approached cautiously. They can all see it clearly. The Yaiwo's seat on the third string was killed with a kick. Even if an arm is cut off, it cannot be restored. Tanjiro's Nichiren sword was even crushed in one move, which was unreasonable. I will take Senior to see our lord right now. Purgatory and Juro hurriedly said to Yun, not even talking to Inosuke Kubihira and Zenitsu Gatama, and he was not in the mood to stay and deal with the battlefield. He is now more concerned about Yun, a guy who suddenly appears, a man who can decide the direction of the world. It doesn't matter whether there is any danger to the Lord, Iyashiki Yoya. Purgatory Xinjuro knew very well that if the man in front of him had malicious intentions, then even if he didn't lead him to find the master, he would still be able to find it. It would be even worse if he relied on the power of ghosts. In this case, it is better to take the initiative and at least leave some good impression. Yun let Iwazeo go and asked Oniwu Sujimizan to come see him. Infernal and Juro saw this scene and couldn't treat it as nothing happened. He does not know whether the person in front of him is good or evil. But he clearly didn't seem to care. Whether it is the ghosts or the demon slayer core that will win his favor depends on fate. Purgatory and Juro was thinking about these questions in his mind, and at the same time, he led the way to Ubuyashiki Yoya's residence. As he got closer to the mansion, the anxiety in his heart became more intense. But all I can do is keep praying silently. Yun still looked calm. His power of shadow spreads rapidly, and the will of the Shadow Emperor, which symbolizes the origin, gradually integrates into the world in an undetectable form, preparing to completely control the world. But as the power penetrated, Yun suddenly sank. The invisible force suppressing him became heavier and stronger. This means that Yun has been rejected by the world, and now he is regarded as an enemy, an existence that should be expelled or wiped out. However, this kind of oppression did not impose much restriction on Yun. The power of this world is somewhat different from that of the pirate world, but it is impossible to kill me directly. In my current state, I will be suppressed when I come to the Demon Slayer world. If it were a more powerful world, the suppression would inevitably be stronger, and the situation would even be worse. It seems that you need to be more careful when traveling around the world in the future. Yun felt the invisible pressure gradually increasing on his body, and his emotions couldn't help but spread. This is just the first shuttle. You must be extremely cautious when traveling to other worlds in the future. The world's suppression makes it difficult for Yun to fully unleash his power. A weaker world would be better. If it is a powerful world, stronger suppression and more powerful enemies are the most difficult problems. I don't know how long it will take to completely control the world. If the strength of everyone in the pirate world can be improved to a higher level, then the next time I travel, I can directly establish a space channel and let them follow me. Yun suddenly had a new idea. His power is special and cannot be tolerated by other worlds. But other people in the pirate world are different. They have never carried the world on their shoulders. Yun was silently planning for the future. Not long. The group arrived at Ubuyashiki's residence. Rengo Kakaijuro and the others were waiting for Ubuyashiki Kiya's arrival with increasing anxiety. Kaijuro, why did you come back so suddenly? Who is this? The sick Ubuyashiki Yoya walked slowly towards him, his unusual face showing a haggard look. The water pillar, Tomioka-ju, followed behind Yaya, with a cold face and a Nichiren sword on his waist. He didn't say anything, but just looked at Yuen warily. Yuen ignored Ju Tomioka's gaze and looked at the leader of the Demon Slayer Corps. Anyone who is willing to sacrifice himself and die together with Muzan Kibutsuji is worthy of respect. My lord, this is a god, Tanjiro said quickly from the side. After seeing how powerful Yuen is, it is impossible to treat him with normal thinking. The shocking scene of instantly killing upper rank 3 and shattering the sun blade still lingered in his mind and could not be shaken off. God? Ubuyashiki Yoya's tone changed slightly, filled with confusion. What happened? He realized that the conditions and emotions of the people in front of him were not right, and his expression became more serious. Tomioka-ju frowned, somewhat dissatisfied with Tanjiro's words. My lord, we were attacked by demons on the train. Upper rank 3 appeared. Rengo Kakaijuro stepped forward and said. Upper 3! Ubuyashiki Kanzuya's tone became more serious. Upper rank 3 is a very powerful guy. Countless pillars have died at his hands. Tomioka-ju's expression changed drastically, and his hands involuntarily tightened the hilt of the Nichiren sword at his waist, which showed how much pressure the upper rank 3 brought to him. He is very strong. It was this gentleman who showed up in time to help us, and he killed upper rank 3 in an instant. Rengo Kakaijuro could only tell the result. As for other things, he couldn't say anything more in front of Yuen. What? Ubuyashiki Yoya's body trembled, extremely shocked. It was more shocking than hearing the appearance of upper 3. Kill upper string 3 instantly? How is that possible? Kaijuro! We have been fighting against demons for 1,000 years. How can you say such things? Tomioka-ju lowered his eyes and spoke in a cold tone. He just thought Rengo Kakaijuro was joking. Kill upper string 3 instantly? I can't even dream of such a thing. Kaijuro, this kind of thing is not something you can joke about. Ubuyashiki Yoya was unbelievable. Even the pillars have a hard time dealing with upper rank 3. And this young man who looks like an ordinary person can kill upper rank 3 in seconds? What a joke. He didn't believe it at all. My lord, it's true, Tanjiro said quickly. And my Nichiren sword was easily shattered by the god. No one would believe this unless they saw it with their own eyes. The sun blade is broken? Ubuyashiki Yoya's heart was filled with turmoil. The sun blade can be said to be the nemesis of ghosts, and the strongest weapon. How could it break? What happened? Could it be that this young man has already reached the highest realm? But it is impossible for the supreme realm to kill upper rank 3 instantly, right? Ubuyashiki Yoya turned his head to look at Yuen and asked. Excuse me, but who are you? Tomioka-ju seemed to have heard something out of the ordinary, and shouted in a cold voice. Enough! Tanjiro! My lord, you are already tired enough. Don't waste his rest time. He doesn't believe it. Ju Tomioka firmly refused to believe what Tanjiro said. As the water pillar, no one knows the power of the sun blade better than him, and no one knows the strength of upper rank 3 better than him. So what about instantly killing upper rank 3 and shattering the sun blade? It's just a huge joke. He was even a little angry and worried about Ubuyashiki Yoshiya's physical condition. Iom! Kaijuro quickly spoke up to stop him. He was afraid that Fugang Iom would anger Yuen. With Yuen's strength, if he starts killing people, it will be the end of the world. Seeing this, Yuen smiled. According to your understanding, I am the god this kid is talking about. You need to submit to me. Yun had a faint smile on his face. That smile was calm, yet it revealed an elusive meaning. It was a calm tone, but full of an attitude that left no room for doubt. The corners of my clothes sway without wind. As soon as these words were spoken, the whole place fell silent. Submit to you? Both Ubuyashiki Yoya were stunned at this moment. Such a direct approach. Is there something wrong with your brain? What on earth are Rengo Kakaijuro and the others doing? Even Ubuyashiki Kanzuya didn't know what to do at this moment. Compared to believing that Yun was a god, he would rather believe that Yun was a lunatic. Otherwise, how could anyone with a normal mind say such ridiculous things? My lord, you! Tanjiro was stunned for a moment. Isn't it too strong to ask them to surrender right away? But if you refuse, won't the consequences be even more serious? Thinking of this, Tanjiro panicked instantly. Rengo Kakaijuro's heart instantly rose to his throat. He could guess that Yun had bad intentions, but he didn't expect them to be so bad. Want them to make the Demon Slayer Corps surrender? Hey! What are you talking about? We only obey our lord. Why do you want us to surrender? Tomiokaju's eyes were cold, and he stared at Yun with increasing hostility. The hand holding the sun blade exerted more and more force, as if he was about to attack. However, the aura he exuded did not affect Yun at all. Just as he was sinking into an icy valley in anger, a loud shout rang out from the sky. What are you doing? Why let this kind of person disturb the Lord? Submit to you? Go home and dream! The knife flashed. A figure with a white hedgehog head rushed over, and the blade slashed towards Yun. It's the Wind Pillar of the Demon Slayer Corps. The grumpy Fuzugawa Miya. He just happened to arrive, and after hearing what Yun said, he instantly became extremely angry and wanted to teach this ignorant guy a lesson. After all, in the eyes of the Demon Slayer Corps, Ubuyashiki Yoya is the absolute leader. Don't want! Rengo Kakaijuro shouted to stop him. But it's over. Just because Yun didn't want to pay attention to them, that didn't mean they would tolerate him taking action. Thunder. There was no movement from Yun. Only two slight scales were heard. This moment, the sky was changing colors. In an instant, countless thunderbolts gathered and converged into several bucket-sized lightning bolts that struck down. Above Leifeng, there was an indescribable terrifying power of shock. The air was compressed to form an explosive roar, as if the sound of thunder from the sky exploded in front of everyone. The sky and earth changed color. It was as terrifying as the end of the world. Fuzukawa Miya's move can be regarded as an opportunity for the Demon Slayer Corps to recognize Un's strength. Beiminji Xingming was not far from the mansion. Although he could not see it, he could feel the terrifying fluctuations coming from the mansion, as if it was about to be destroyed. What's going on? This terrifying wave, could it be a ghost attacking the Lord? Court death! Beiminji Xingmei is completely blind, but he is undoubtedly the strongest rock pillar. He held chains in both hands, one end of which was a meteor hammer, and the other end was a broad axe. This was his special sun blade, which had extremely terrifying lethality. With such powerful strength, even the upper-rank demons dare not underestimate him. He roared to the sky and rushed towards the storm in the mansion. Not only him, but also the other powerful members of the Demon Slayer Corps such as the Sound Pillar, the Mist Pillar, and the Insect Pillar noticed such fluctuations and immediately rushed to the mansion with all their strength. They didn't know what was going on, but they all had a bad feeling. At the same time, in the Infinite City, Upper Rank 3 returns after failing his mission and being seriously injured. Akaza was still dressed the same, but one of his arms was strangely missing. Akaza, what are you doing? Where's your arm? Mingnu saw Akaza's look and asked in surprise. She didn't know what was going on, she was just curious why Akaza didn't grow his arms. Akaza's pale face was extremely solemn, and he said, My arm can't grow back. I have to see Master Muzan now. It's something very important. At first, Mingnu thought Akaza was joking, but when she heard the second sentence in Akaza's tone, she was surprised and contacted Muzan Kibutsuji without hesitation. Soon, a figure in a white suit appeared in front of Akaza and Naruto, as if suddenly appearing in a gust of wind, with his eyes flashing with an extremely evil light. "Tell me, what happened?" Muzan Kibutsuji looked at Akaza, frowned slightly, and spoke without any emotion. "My lord! I was on a mission and could have killed the flame pillar immediately, but a mysterious man suddenly appeared. This mysterious man is very strong. Incredibly strong. He defeated me without even doing anything. I used all my strength in front of him, but it was like a child without any fighting ability facing the giant. Sir, he is really too strong." Akaza's tone was hurried, showing that he was in a panic. When describing the gap between himself and Yuen, he hesitated before saying it. This is his truest feeling in his heart. Compared with Yuen, there is a world of difference between me and him. "Someone who can kill you in seconds?" There was a cold expression on Muzan Kibutsuji's evil face, and his tone was icy and a bit doubtful. "Can it kill upper rank 3 instantly? This is not something that those guys from the Demon Slayer Corps can do." He even had some doubts about what Akaza said. Akaza sensed Muzan's doubt and immediately said, "Sir, he cut off my arm and it can no longer grow." Muzan Kibutsuji raised his head slightly and looked at the broken arm of Akaza. He immediately mobilized his own strength and used the power of blood to help Akaza grow his arms. However, nothing happened. It was as if the laws of nature wouldn't allow Akaza's arm to regenerate. After noticing this incredible scene, Muzan Kibutsuji's expression finally changed. Undoubtedly exclaimed, "How could there be such a power? This kind of power is simply his nemesis. As the ancestor of demons, how could Muzan Kibutsuji not be aware of his own power? The regenerative power contained in blood is a force that cannot be underestimated. It is also the foundation of ghosts. Not being killed is the prerequisite for being powerful. But now, the wound on Akaza's arm couldn't be repaired even if he used his blood regeneration power himself? Is everything Akaza said true? Is there really a guy who can completely control himself?" Muzan Kibutsuji was horrified, with a hint of fear in his eyes. Because in thousands of years he has not felt such a huge threat. Even the Sun Blade cannot be compared with this power to restrain regeneration. The Nichiren sword must chop off the head to kill the demon. But if it is this kind of power, doesn't it mean that any random attack will cause damage to the ghost? Not to mention the upper rank demons, even I myself will have no power to resist. However, what shocked him even more was that he had lived for so many years, but he had never known that there was such a power, and he had never heard that the Demon Slayer Corps had such means. Damn it! Where did the Demon Slayer Corps get this power? What should we do? Mingnu was completely panicked. Although she had experienced many things, she had never seen anything so outrageous. Akaza paused and explained. That person is not from the Demon Slayer Corps. They don't know each other. Not from the Demon Slayer Corps? There was a scarlet light flashing in Muzan Kibutsuji's eyes, and his calm and cold face revealed a hint of ferocity. If it's not from the Demon Slayer Corps, who else could it be? What on earth is going on? For the first time, Muzan Kibutsuji felt unconfident in his own strength. Even when facing the threat from the Demon Slayer Corps, he never panicked. Yes, that mysterious man appeared suddenly, and his attack method was not the same as that of the Demon Slayer Corps, but he seemed to know everything, and he asked you to go see him. Akaza said helplessly. Only by witnessing Yuan's power can one clearly feel the powerlessness within it. Let me go see him. Who on earth is that person? There was a hint of anger on Kibutsuji Muzan's face. This feeling of being calculated is really unpleasant. He racked his brains, but no one in his mind could fit the description of Akaza. He should have left with the flame pillar of the Demon Slayer Corps. If we want to find him, we may have to go to the Demon Slayer Corps' headquarters, Akaza said cautiously. He could clearly feel Muzan Kibutsuji's presence. The mood is very wrong. This ancestor of ghosts developed an indescribable violent emotion. He suppressed his anger and whispered, Call the waxing moon! I want to see with my own eyes who he is! At this moment, Muzan Kibutsuji was dissatisfied and angry. He will lead all the ghosts to launch an attack. An enemy who poses such a threat to oneself must be killed to eliminate the threat forever. If the Demon Slayer Corps possessed this kind of power, how could the demons survive? There was even a hint of desire in his heart. What if this mysterious person knows about the blue spider lily? Yes! Mingnu did not dare to hesitate at all and immediately used her ability to mobilize the Infinite City and summon the waxing moon. Soon, 5 figures appeared in Infinite City. Upper Moon 1 Kokoshibo. He is the strongest demon under Muzan Kibutsuji. Upper Rank 2 Doma. Upper Moon 4 Half Tengu. Shanshen Wu Jade Pot. Upper 6 Jitaru and Daki. Add Akaza to the mix, and you have 6 waxing moons gathered together. And Tengu has not died yet, so Mingnu has not yet taken over the position of Upper Rank 4. Greetings, sir. All the ghosts bowed. Are you all here? What happened? Yuvu was surprised to see so many figures. Yuvu's appearance was extremely strange and his face was very scary, but the ghosts present were used to it, and even Kokoshibo and Doma were too lazy to even look at him. Jifutaro and Daki, brother and sister, felt the strong pressure from Muzan Kibutsuji and were afraid to speak. They are the weakest guys here. Akaza, what are you doing? Want to experience the feeling of having a broken arm? Doma quickly noticed Akaza's unusual condition and sneered with glee. He thought that Akaza had deliberately created a special shape and had no idea of the seriousness of the matter. You failed in your mission? Kokoshibo stared at Akaza with his 6 eyes, and his voice was filled with a hint of oppression. He thought that Akaza had just returned from the battle with the Demon Slayer Corps and his arm had not yet been repaired, so he didn't even think about the possibility that it could not grow. Akaza frowned and said coldly to Doma, who was against him, I can break both of your arms. Ghosts also dislike each other. They only obey the power of Muzan Kibutsuji. If it weren't for his existence, these demons might have already fought each other. Oh? Why don't you try it? Doma's iron fan appeared in his hand, shining with a cold light, his eyes sparkling, and the words, upper string, became clearer, but looked even weirder. I don't feel like wasting my breath on a guy like you who doesn't know how to live or die. Akaza knew that he had called them here for something more important, so he wouldn't fight with Doma. Are you scared? Doma said with a grin, a smug look suddenly flashing across his face. But at this moment, all the upper ranks felt an inexplicable sense of fear. Doma's body was pierced by a sudden blood-red thorn, causing a stream of blood to float in the air, like a blooming winter plum. Bang! 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 Next second, before the fear and disbelief on Doma's face could fully emerge, he was thrown out, making a series of dull and violent impact noises. Please calm down, sir! All the demons knelt down instantly, only Kokoshibo and Akaza were still standing. Grown-ups! Doma stood up with a confused look on his face, walked back obediently, and the wounds on his body healed automatically. How could he have thought that Kibutsuji Muzan would be so angry? But when he saw Akaza's look, he couldn't help but make a few sarcastic remarks, and as a result, he was punished by Muzan Kibutsuji himself. Akaza narrowed his eyes, looking at Doma's wound that could still heal automatically, with an unknown meaning in his eyes, and immediately explained. You think I don't want to grow arms? That's because I can't regrow arms now. As soon as these words were spoken, Doma's body stiffened, and the expressions of Yuru, Jifutaro, and Daki also changed. Their first reaction was naturally to not believe it. Judging from Akaza's reaction and the anger level of Muzan Kibutsuji when he attacked just now, the current atmosphere doesn't seem suitable for joking. How could our bodies not be able to regenerate? Daji blinked and couldn't help but say. She also expressed the doubts in the other ghosts' minds. Kokoshibo frowned slightly, realizing that something important had happened that he didn't know about, and immediately said, Akaza, what happened? What happened to your arm? Normally, even if an arm is cut off by the sun blade, it can still regenerate. And Akaza's arms can't regenerate. That's a very serious situation. Kokushibo reacted and thought that perhaps this was the reason why they were all called here. Akaza took a deep breath and recounted his experience again. In other words, he felt Yuan's terror invisibly again. How is this possible? A human who suddenly appeared has such power? Even the Nichiren sword can't do it. Daki was completely confused and didn't know whether she should believe what Akaza said. If she believed it, her 3 views would be overturned. Apart from the Nichiren sword, how could there be any other force that can restrain us? Jifutaro was also incredulous. What happened to Akaza seemed too bizarre to them. Yuvu opened his mouth as if wanting to mock Akaza, but when he thought of what happened to Doma just now, he closed his mouth. Doma still didn't learn his lesson, and said shamelessly, Akaza, you didn't make up an excuse because the mission failed, did you? And the mysterious person, I think you are just afraid of the adult's anger. The more he spoke, the lower his voice became, and in the end he simply shut up, lowered his head, and dared not speak again. Because Muzan Kibutsuji's aura became increasingly violent, they felt like they were trembling. Normally, this is absolutely impossible. For so many years, apart from the Sun Blade, no other power can kill demons. Could it be that a new power has appeared? Kokushibo's voice revealed a hint of solemnity. What strange is that? Why haven't we encountered any traces of it before? He believed what Akaza said. Otherwise all the first quarter moons will not be gathered. It is even more impossible for Muzan Kibutsuji to get so angry. This incident completely threatens our existence. Especially that person, he seems to know us very well, he seems to recognize me, but he doesn't know my name. Could it be that we have had a relationship with him before? Hand? Akaza guessed silently, recalling every detail since Yuan appeared in his mind. Old rival? I can't remember. Kokushibo shook his head. Doma also whispered, We have never encountered any opponents other than the Demon Slayer Corps. He has a great advantage, which is his excellent memory. Sir, what should we do? If this guy joins forces with the Demon Slayer Corps, the situation will not be optimistic. Kokushibo analyzed slowly. The mysterious man finally left with the Demon Slayer Corps. That would be a huge threat to them. None of the ghosts present wanted to die. I called you here to let you know about this matter. Take action tonight and kill anyone Akaza sees at all costs. If he is still alive tomorrow, you can all die. Muzan Kibutsuji spoke coldly. For some reason, the bloody smell around them suddenly became thicker and filled with murderous intent. Yes, sir. All the ghosts responded one after another, not daring to have any objection. Does this count as an all-out war with the Demon Slayer Corps? Yuhu said in a low voice. Hearing these words, all the ghosts had different thoughts. Some felt threatened, while others wanted to take the opportunity to get rid of the Demon Slayer Corps. Of course, the first target is definitely that mysterious guy. Sir, that person's methods are too bizarre, you must be extremely careful. Akaza spoke with a serious expression. Just a moment ago, a thought that even he feared came to his mind. What should he do if Muzan Kibutsuji is no match for that guy? Or, even if I kill that guy, will my arm still have a chance to regenerate? For a demon, lacking an arm will greatly weaken its strength when fighting against members of the Demon Slayer Corps, which means the probability of having its head chopped off is greater. I know what's going on. Even if he is very strong, he must die. Muzan Kibutsuji laughed grimly, with a strong desire to kill. If they could show up during the day, they would have probably rushed to Xi'an. But what they don't know is that their lifelong enemy, the Demon Slayer Corps, is in danger of destruction. Abuyashiki Residence. Buziai's sudden move triggered a chain reaction. Because Yun took action. To be more precise, he manipulated the power of the Thunder Fruit and the Tremor Fruit to launch the attack, but he did not move. One hand was behind his back and the other hand hung at his side, looking very relaxed. Only those eyes, black and white, are bright and shining. And at the moment of releasing these two forces, a new idea emerged in Yun's mind. The power of devil fruits, If one devil fruit power is copied to multiple people, or if one person has multiple devil fruit powers like Blackbeard, this may bring more benefits. A big improvement. Yun thought of a way to improve the strength of Kaido, Big Mom, and others. Vegapunk has already developed a method to clone part of the devil fruit, but Yun has never thought about this direction. After all, he was already strong enough, and he couldn't improve his strength by copying the power of the devil fruit, so he had never thought about this problem. But things are different now. He realized that he seemed to be traveling through more worlds, and there would always be a time when he would need the guys from the pirate world, and the most significant way to improve their strength was to share the powerful devil fruit abilities. For example, awakened Azure Dragon with Flash, or copy the power of the Sun God. But to achieve this, Vegapunk's technology is far from enough. But this is not a problem for Un. His savvy heaven-defying ability will definitely lead to a solution. A thought flashed through Yuan's mind. The thunder that suddenly flashed down from the sky had already bombarded Mushikawa Shia several times in a row. The brutal, violent, and incomparable crushing force had already shaken the sun blade in his hand away, causing him to want to perform the breathing method. It's impossible. The next bolt of lightning exploded and struck, causing Buzii Kawai to cough up blood and become seriously injured. This is still because Yuan showed mercy. Otherwise, there would be no chance that Fuzugawa Minoru would still be alive. How could the thunder that meant destruction not kill him? Seeing the figure falling from the sky, Tomioka Ju drew his fist and rushed out. Stop! He wanted to save Fushigi Miya. Water-breathing 7th form Shizuku Ripple Strike! The slash was swung quickly, creating ripples that pushed forward. His target was also Yun, and he wanted to stop Yun's attack in a direct way. But he seemed to overlook one problem. Yun launched an attack, but did not move. This means that there is still a lot of room for Yun. Brush. A shadow suddenly appeared in front of Tomioka's attack. Shadows gather, and rocks appears. The power of the dark fruit is activated. This is the ability of the dark fruit that is activated outside the pirate world, and its effect and power are not necessarily weakened. Buzz. The spreading ripples of the water mysteriously dissipated after coming into contact with the shadow, and it seemed as if they were blending into the shadow. The sudden change made Tomioka's brain go blank and he was completely confused. Tomioka Ju's mind was a little blank at this moment. If it weren't for the real feeling he felt with his body, he would even suspect that he was dreaming. The powerful slash that he had launched was intercepted by the shadow in front of him without any warning. The water ripples that spread across the sky disappeared quietly. It's like the last puff of a cigarette, it comes hot and disappears decisively. What's this? Tanjiro looked at Shadow Rocks, the terrifying figure filled with a demonic aura, and his voice was trembling noticeably. Rengo Kakayajuro, who was unable to stop Fushigi Shia and Tomioka Ju in time, froze in place, staring in shock at the dark figure that suddenly appeared in front of Yuan. It looked like a ghost. What is this? Ju's 7-type attack speed and power are so powerful that even an upper-rank demon cannot easily resist it. How could it be so easily neutralized? Rengo Kakayajuro's mind was full of questions and he was very confused, but he didn't dare to act rashly. When Fushigawa Miyabi made his move, Kayajuro had already anticipated the result, so he was not surprised at all. However, the appearance of the human-shaped shadow in front of him was beyond his expectations. Abuyashiki Yoya slowly clenched his palms, finding it hard to believe what he was seeing. The sudden attack of the wind column was blown away, and the attack of the water column was easily resolved. Who is this guy in front of me? Abuyashiki Yoya's mind was filled with huge questions. God? Are there really gods in this world? He didn't quite believe it. Even Muzan Kibutsuji, who has lived for thousands of years, does not dare to say that he is a god. God is omnipotent. However, although he was not very strong, he could tell that Shadow Rocks was not a ghost. Damn it! Water-breathing, pick-up form, flowing life! Tomioka Ju's eyes were extremely solemn, and all the strength in his body was surging. He once again launched a powerful attack of water breathing. His whole body spun rapidly like a gyroscope, filled with a strong sense of sharpness. Life flows. It is equivalent to a spinning slash. The more times it spins, the more powerful the slash will be. He once again launched his most powerful attack towards Shadow Rocks. Although the water was spinning, its edge was gradually revealed. Yuen turned his head slightly to take a look at Tomioka-ju's attack method, but didn't take it seriously. This level, just leave it to Shadow Rocks. Rocks is already extremely powerful, the pinnacle of strength in the world of pirates, and with the shadow power enhancement given by Yuen, even Yuzen Kibutsuji cannot do anything to him. The extremely dense darkness spread and flowed from Shadow Rock's palm, like a wisp of smoke spreading from hell, and finally condensed into a dark vortex. Boom! Tomioka-ju's life force rushed over and crashed into the dark vortex. His moves are indeed very powerful. But in front of the power of the dark fruit, it was completely neutralized. Devour and annihilate. This is a power that Ju Tomioka could not imagine, and a scene he had never seen before. Before he even had time to react to what was happening, his powerful attack became invisible and dissipated. Next second, the hands wrapped in darkness instantly enlarged in Tomioka-ju's eyes. Those hands were like the sky collapsing in an instant, leaving him with no escape. Bang! The big hand, without any warmth, was like a pair of steel pliers, grasping Tomioka-ju's face. He was thrown out like trash. During the entire process, Ju Tomioka, as the water pillar, had no ability to resist and was completely crushed. Tomioka-ju was still confused after flying out. Who I am? Where am I? What happened? Buzai Kagawa just struggled to stand up, ignoring the pain in his body, and looked up. Actually, he is the most confused guy. Tomioka-ju at least knew what happened, but Fuzugawa Shima came out of nowhere and had no idea of the cause and effect. He treated Yuen as a fool, and was hit hard. The world was spinning, and my head was about to be shaken to pieces. When he recovered and stood up, he saw Ju Tomioka, who was killed instantly. What's going on? What kind of monster did that guy summon? But the next second, Fushigawara Miya's face changed drastically. No! Damn it! Amid screams, Tomioka-ju pinpointed Busa Miyako and pinged him down, with the handle of the knife flying in the air, hitting Busa Miyako's eye socket hard. The water column and wind column were once again submerged in smoke and dust. The scene fell into deathly silence. Rengo Kakajuro, Tenjiro, Hashibara Inosuke, Agatsuma Zenitsu and others have all witnessed the horror of Yuen, so naturally they dare not take action. Abuyashiki Yoya is seriously ill and it is even more impossible for him to take action. And after seeing this scene, Abuyashiki Yoya also believed what Rengo Kakajuro said, that Yuen had the terrifying power to kill upper rank 3 in seconds. My Lord God, what is this? Tanjiro stuttered. Because of their form, Shadow Rocks brought them even more fear and oppression than Un. Sir, we were the ones who offended you just now. Please forgive us. Abuyashiki Yoya bowed respectfully and spoke sincerely. He saw hope of killing Muzan Kibutsuji. As long as the existence of ghosts can be eliminated, the world can return to peace. But at this moment, the rest of the column arrived. Gyumei sensed the helpless Tomioka-ju and Fushigawara Saniya, and then sensed the entire scene, only to find a stranger in front of Abuyashiki Yoya, and immediately swung the chain of the meteor hammer mercilessly, whistling out, "Don't hurt the Lord!" Yuen looked up slightly. The meteor hammer quickly enlarged in his eyes, but he showed a hint of impatience. It's really troublesome that they appear one after another. Think of this. Yuen raised his palm. Bang! The meteor hammer, which carried a terrifying force that was enough to smash a ghost's body into pulp, was like a marble in Yuen's white palm. What? Beiminji Xingming was horrified and his Buddha's heart was shaken. The veins on his arms were bulging with blood, and his blood vessels were clearly visible. There were even bloody marks on his palms, but his special sun blade showed no reaction at all. The world is silent. Gurgle. The sound of someone swallowing saliva could be clearly heard. An indifferent voice slowly floated up, like heavenly music drifting into everyone's ears. Hearing these words, Abayushi Kiyoya, Rengo Kakajuro, and the others all froze. This was not heavenly music, but an order from the king of hell. Violators will die. If there's another one, I'll kill you all, Yuan said calmly, without any emotion in his eyes. It's hard to tell his true emotions, and even harder to guess whether this sentence is true or false. But at least, Abayushi Kiyoshiya and the others did not dare to guess and could only believe it regardless of the consequences. When Abayushi Kiyoya was about to order Beiminji Shingmei to retreat and apologize to Yuan in person, a terrifying scene occurred that made him tremble with fear. Snap! Bang! The special sun blade of Gyumei Yume and the meteor hammer that had harvested countless ghosts' lives began to crack. Then it exploded in an instant. Gyomei of Sato Isle, the rock pillar, the strongest guy in the demon slayer corps. The Nichiren sword in his hand has the most special form, but that does not hinder its power. But at this moment, a shocking scene happened. The meteor hammer made a crisp sound. The sound is very subtle. It's like a stone suddenly being stirred up in the waves, almost impossible to notice. But considering the strength of the people present, such a sound almost frightened them. No way! Could it be? Tanjiro opened his mouth wide and looked up at the meteor hammer in Yuan's hand with a dull expression. The memories in his mind resurfaced, and he was completely dumbfounded. He has realized that what happened to him will happen again. How is that possible? That's the sun blade of Gyumei from Baiming Island! The exploding hedgehog head of Bijui Koichi exploded even more. He stared at the cracks spreading on the meteor hammer with shock on his face. His trembling hands could hardly hold the sun blade steadily, let alone have the courage to attack. Jutomioka, who had crawled up from the ruins beside him, had a dull look in his eyes, as if he had seen something more terrifying than a ghost. He opened his mouth, but the voice seemed to be stuck in his throat, and he said nothing. If he had seen this scene before, how could he be so stupid as to attack Yuan? After seeing it with his own eyes, Jutomioka finally believed that what Tanjiro and Rengo Kakajuro said was true. In everyone's shocked gaze. Boom! The meteor hammer exploded into fragments, shooting out in all directions. The sun blade of Beiminji Xingming was crushed by a single palm. What kind of strength is this? Abayushi Kiyoya looked down at the strand of hair that was cut off by the iron filings, and his inner shock was beyond words. The sun blade has been passed down for thousands of years and is the most powerful weapon in the hands of the pillars. Not even demons can completely destroy the Nichiren sword. Today, I watched helplessly as a seemingly ordinary young man crushed the sun blade of the strongest pillar, Beiminji Xingmei, with his bare hands? Is that a human hand? Even the thunder of heaven and earth cannot have such power. Abayushi Kiyoya's cognition was completely refreshed, and his inner emotions were complicated, but his desire to completely eradicate the demon became stronger and more uncontrollable. After seeing Yuan's strength, Abayushi Kiyoya knew that this was the best chance to eliminate the demon. Another one is broken. Rengo Kakajuro sighed helplessly. He only blamed himself for being too slow in acting and failing to stop Jutomioka, Minami Fushigi, and Gyumei Beimei. Now, Tanjiro's Nichiren sword is gone, and Gyumei Hai's meteor hammer is also broken. If they didn't have the help of the great god in front of them, once the ghosts came to kill them, they would lose their strongest fighter. Rengo Kakajuro is even more determined to seek help from Yuan. He wants to find an opportunity to persuade Yuan to eliminate the demon. After all, he saw with his own eyes that Yuan let Akaza go, and he also threatened to let Muzan Kibutsuji come to him in person. What Rengo Kakajuro is most worried about is that he doesn't know what Yuan is thinking and cannot be sure of his next move. How is this possible? There was a slight tremor in Beiminji Xingming's voice. This was an extreme shock. He can't see with his eyes, but he can see very clearly. Before he could even react to what was happening, the most powerful weapon he was so proud of exploded in the hands of the young man in front of him. How is this possible? That's the sun blade. Beiminjiu Xingming found it difficult to accept this result for a while, and he was greatly shocked in his heart. Who are you? Why are you here? Beiminjiu Xingming quickly calmed down and asked loudly. He pulled the chain in his hand, held the broad axe in his hand, and faced Yuan with a serious expression. Even after seeing how terrifying Yuan was, he still didn't back down. Beiminjiu Xingming was ready to die. But at this moment, Rengoku Kaijuro finally arrived, grabbed Beiminjiu Xingming and pulled him back, and hurriedly explained. My lord, this is all a misunderstanding. They didn't know you were coming and mistook you for an enemy. He didn't dare let Yuan take action again. He just said he would kill them all. Rengoku Kaijuro doesn't think Yuan is joking. He had no doubt about the strength displayed by Yuan. Kaijuro? What is going on? Beiminjiu Xingming seemed to realize that he was being reckless. But he still didn't understand where this extremely terrifying guy came from. Cough, cough, cough. Don't do anything. This is the Lord God. Abuyashiki Yoya walked forward slowly, covering his mouth and coughing slightly. When talking about Yuan's identity, he paused. Because Abuyashiki Yoya didn't know if it was okay to describe Yuan like this. The point is, are there really gods in the world? This is the biggest joke. My lord, are you okay? Beiminjiu Xingming quickly turned around and asked urgently. I'm fine. Abuyashiki Yoya said slowly. His body is like this, what does it matter if it's good or bad? My lord, I was impulsive. Fushigawara Shige realized the seriousness of the matter and apologized honestly. Sir, I apologize for any offense I have caused. Tomioka just saluted Yuan. He kept a low profile. Because of the strength shown by Yuan. And that shadow-like monster guy was standing next to Yuan, as if swallowing up all the light. It was terrifying, with a strong visual impact and oppression. Tomioka fought against Shadow Rock's. After witnessing Shadow Rock's abnormal abilities, he no longer doubted that Shadow Rocks could defeat them all by himself. This strange ability was more unpredictable than a ghost, and it also brought him greater oppression, making him dare not act rashly. If anyone acts impulsively again, they will have to bear the consequences of their impulsiveness. This is your last chance. Yuan raised his eyes slightly and said in a deep voice. Abuyashiki Yoya was startled and said quickly, I understand, God. Rengoku Kaijuro breathed a sigh of relief. At least there was still room for maneuver. He hurriedly looked around, fearing that other pillars would appear and suddenly attack Yuan, which would simply push everyone into a hell from which there would be no escape. Rengoku Kaijuro was alert to his surroundings, but Beiminjiu Xingmei was even more confused. My lord, what happened? Tomioka stepped forward and gave a brief account of what had happened. Beiminjiu Xingmei remained silent, but turned his head slightly to look at Tanjiro, as if he saw a poor person with the same fate as him. As if to say, I didn't expect your sun blade to break before mine. My lord God. Abuyashiki Yoya spoke to Yuan. But this name is indeed a bit awkward. My name is Yun. Yuan nodded slightly. Lord Yuan, what are you doing here? If you need anything, just let me know, asked Abuyashiki Yoya. Abuyashiki Yoya wanted to find out about Yuan's purpose, but all he could think of was the name, Yuan, but he found that he had never heard of it before. Very strange. Not only Abuyashiki Koya, but even the other pillars were confused. Naturally, they had never heard of this name. Where in history has there been such a powerful guy? Tomioka blinked and even suspected that the name Yuan was made up. But none of that matters anymore. Because Yun's next answer is the most important. What is Yun's purpose? I don't need you to do anything for now, just find a room, Yuan said calmly. He naturally knew what Abuyashiki Yoshiya meant, but he really didn't need to do anything now, and he didn't need the Demon Slayer Corps to do anything. All Yuan could do was wait. The strength is fully restored and the world is in control. Then you can leave. As for the Demon Slayer Corps and the demons, it depends on their own attitude. Abuyashiki Yoya was slightly startled and couldn't help coughing twice. I was very surprised by this result. The other pillars also suddenly became uneasy. Such an ambiguous answer put them under tremendous pressure. Yuen sensed their mood changes and said faintly, "I won't do anything to you, even if it's just a temporary stay." "Yes, Lord Yuen, we understand," Obuyashiki Yoya responded. Since Yuen said so, he didn't dare to ask any further questions. "Lord Yuen, can you help us deal with that ghost matter?" Tenjiro asked cautiously. "This question is the most critical. This is also a question that everyone is concerned about. The ghost problem will be solved. They should come here tonight." Yuen glanced at the high sun indifferently. "Ghosts don't come out during the day. Akaza's failure is not important. What is important is the power that limits the regenerative ability of demons. Even Musen Kibutsuji cannot sit idly by." Yuen's seemingly ordinary actions actually took everything into account silently. He planned for this world. Demons and the Demon Slayer Corps are both accessories. If we continue to explore other worlds, the abilities of the demons would be of some use. As for the Demon Slayer Corps, they are much weaker. "I'll come, tonight." Tomioka Ju clenched the Nichiren sword in his hand, murderous intent flashing in his eyes. He regarded today as the final battle with the ghost. Not only him, but Rengo Kakayajuro and Fushigawa Minoru also had stern expressions and were mentally prepared for a decisive battle. Beiminji Xingning lowered his head, looked at the half-broken sun blade in his hand, and sighed helplessly. "The situation was originally very good, but because of my recklessness, I damaged my sun blade. If this will have any impact on the situation tonight, then I will really be a sinner." "Tonight, the ghosts will come. Will Musen Kibutsuji come too?" Tenjiro was excited and nervous. This is the prelude to the decisive battle. The ultimate showdown between the Demon Slayer Corps and the demons. Lord Yuen should be right. Obuyashiki Yoya is worthy of being the Lord. Although he doesn't know what method Yuen used, he believes what Yuen said. He immediately ordered, "Shinobu Kocho, you take Lord Yuen to his residence. Kaijuro, Ju, gather all the members of the Demon Slayer Corps. It's time to put an end to this." Although Obuyashiki Yoya still looked sick when he spoke, his temperament had changed and was filled with irresistible majesty. His words were filled with a resolute will to fight. "Yes!" All the pillars responded in unison. They are ready to fight and face the upcoming Musen Kibutsuji. Yuen wanted to say something, but he didn't. He just wanted to tell these people that they didn't need to prepare anything. If Musen Kibutsuji didn't surrender, he would be killed. If you surrender, the ghost members will be taken away. So no matter how you look at it, it has nothing to do with the Demon Slayer Corps. The sun rises high in the sky and then gradually slides down the west hill. The day passed quickly. After the last ray of sunlight was blocked by the night, the whole world ushered in darkness. The night is quiet and the wind is blowing. Just like any other night. But Obuyashiki Yoshiya's residence was filled with a solemnity different from the past, and he was ready for battle. All Demon Slayer Corps members gathered. They were scattered throughout the mansion, on full alert. Rock Pillar, Gyumei Hiramasuma, Flame Pillar, Rengo Kakayajuro, Water Pillar, Jutomioka, Wind Pillar, Fushigawa Minoru, Sound Pillar, Tenjin Yuzui, Snake Pillar, Abanai Iguro, Shinobu Kocho, Love Pillar, Mitsuri Kenroji, Takito Michiro, Tenjiro, Inasu Kashibara, and Zenitsu Agatsuma are also ready for battle. In this atmosphere, everything becomes solemn and grim. The Obuyashiki couple also seemed particularly nervous. They sat in the lobby, waiting for the approaching enemy. In the room next to them was Yuen. On summer nights, insects chirp. But at a certain moment, all sounds suddenly stopped, as if still. The wind also stopped for a moment at this moment. But it started to blow again the next moment. The wind was picking up. And getting more and more crazy. The sound of the piano suddenly filled the night sky. "Chun!" The sudden sound instantly alarmed the entire mansion. "Chun! Chun!" There were several sounds in succession. Tomioka Ju, who was guarding the west, suddenly changed his expression, drew out his Nichiren sword and turned back to fight. Rengo Kakayajuro in the east looked solemn and rushed to the center of the mansion without hesitation, where the Ubuyashiki couple and Yuen were. Yuzui Tengen in the north and Fushigawa Saniya in the south also felt it, and moved closer to the center. They hadn't expected the ghost to be able to pass right past them and into the center of the mansion. Kibutsuji Musen. Ubuyashiki Yoya raised his head and spoke word by word in a cold voice. He held his wife's hand tightly, not feeling nervous or afraid, but just a sense of ease and relief. Musen Kibutsuji is here. Whatever the outcome, it's all over. At the moment when Ubuyashiki Yoya looked up and spoke, a shabby figure in a white suit suddenly appeared in the open space in front of the house. The smile on the corner of the man's mouth was cold and murderous. His eyes were extremely cold. Kibutsuji Musen appears. Behind him was Mingnu, holding a zither. On the roof behind them was a group of figures exuding a terrifying aura. Kokoshibo, Doma, Akaza, Gyokutsu, Hantengu, Jayataro, and Daki. All upper strings are revealed. They were either standing or half-standing and half-sitting, in various postures on the roof, staring coldly at Ubuyashiki Yoya below under the cold moonlight. Today's battle is not just what the Demon Slayer Corps has been waiting for. The ghosts have been waiting for this day to come. Completely defeat their nemesis. I'm here, where's that person? Musen Kibutsuji looked around and felt the breath of the pillars approaching. In front of him, Jaomi Ihai, Shinobu Kocho, Tanjiro and others were protecting Ubuyashiki Yoya. The only person missing is that mysterious person. Crunch. The door opened. The young man walked out slowly with his hands behind his back. At this moment, the whistling wind stopped. Yuen came out naturally. Although his figure seemed a little thin, his kingly aura immediately made everyone feel extremely oppressive. The howling wind around them suddenly stopped. There seemed to be an unknown voice echoing between heaven and earth, as if this world was expressing its dissatisfaction with outsiders and its unwilling protest. But all this is of no avail. Who are you? What's the power inside Akaza? The pale complexion of Musen Kibutsuji changed slightly. His fangs were ferocious, and a slightly heavy voice floated. He was shocked by Yuen's aura and never thought that there would be such a terrifying guy in the world. It was like a sleeping giant beast awakening and looking down at him. Musen Kibutsuji felt that Yuen in front of him was like an insurmountable mountain. However, is an insurmountable mountain still a mountain? That is the sky. The upper strings on the eaves stared at Yuen. Except for Akaza, they were all very unfamiliar with Yuen. But it only took a moment, and the upper ranks that were releasing their arrogance became wilted one after another. Daki's body was trembling, and uncontrollable fear was spreading in her heart. Jifutaro's situation was similar to hers. After all, they were the weakest upper-rank brothers. The situation of the other strings was not much better. Doma's face was dull, and there was shock in his strange eyes, and his expression was extremely incredible. Just the momentum was beyond their understanding. How is this possible? He didn't do anything. But the aura from him made me feel like I was going to die. Kokoshibo was even more unbelievable. He is the strongest demon under Musen. Over the past thousands of years, he had seen all kinds of powerful pillars and had killed countless pillars, but he had never seen the aura of the man in front of him. Apart from being horrifying, Kokoshibo didn't even know how to describe it. Bantianga's voice trembled slightly. How do we fight this? I was almost killed by the other party's thought. Although he hadn't unleashed his strongest form, he knew deep down that the weakest forms were all the same. Even Kokoshibo was like this, so what role could he play? The most frustrated or helpless one is Akaza. As the first ghost to come into contact with Yuen, Akaza knew Yuen's strength very well, which could only be described as unfathomable, and as a victim, he deeply felt the power in his body that made it impossible for his limbs to regenerate. How terrifying the power is! That's enough power to completely suppress Musen Kibutsuji. Even Musen Kibutsuji was helpless. What's more, this might be a power that even Musen Kibutsuji fears. Otherwise, why would Musen Kibutsuji be so excited and want to launch an attack on the Demon Slayer Corps so madly? Akaza had a prediction in his mind. However, after experiencing it himself, he became even more desperate. The look he gave Yun was filled with fear. Because Akaza had experienced it once. "Kibutsuji Musen! You can't escape this time!" The voice of Fushigawara Miya came. The knife flashed and rushed over. "Stop! Listen to Lord Yuan's orders!" Rengoku Kaijuro yelled madly. He was afraid that the scene that happened during the day, where everyone was in chaos and angered Yuan, would happen again. They would not have a second chance. With the character of Fuzugawa Shigeya, how could he stop himself when he saw Musen Kibutsuji? But after he saw Yuan, it was as if he was splashed with a basin of ice water. He suddenly woke up, immediately stopped his charge, and landed on the eaves of a nearby house, looking relieved. Without Yuan's permission, he really didn't dare to do anything. Tomioka-jo landed beside Fushigawara Saniya, and watching him withdraw his hands, he couldn't help but sigh in his heart. It's amazing that the hot-tempered Fushigawara Saniya could do this. Yuan didn't even know that because of Fushigi Miya, his image in Tomioka-jo's mind became even more unshakable. Rengoku Kaijuro and Yuzui Tenjin then landed on the roof, and after taking a look at the situation off the field, they immediately turned their attention to Kokushibo and other upper ranks. However, they were just prepared to take action, but did not take action. In everything they did, they subconsciously wanted to follow Yuan's orders. The sudden change made Kokushibo, Doma and the others feel a stronger sense of bad premonition. All the power of the Demon Slayer Corps lies here, along with that unfathomable man. What can be done in this situation? They are all loyal followers of Musen Kibutsuji. But in the current situation, it was the first time that they had no confidence in the ancestor of ghosts. "You are Musen Kibutsuji." Yuan raised his eyebrows and looked at the ghost in front of him casually, without much emotion. The voice became more erratic and indifferent. Naturally, Musen Kibutsuji was not worthy of his attention. Musen Kibutsuji's expression gradually became ferocious, and he took in Yuan's expression clearly. That careless and casual tone was simply the greatest humiliation. "Your name is Yuan? Tell me clearly the source of your power, and I can grant you true eternal life." He immediately faced Yuan with a more arrogant attitude. The name Yuan was something he had just heard from Rengoku Kaijuro. What surprised him was that the Demon Slayer Corps would actually listen to such a stranger. It was so unexpected. "Eternal life? Just by you? You don't deserve it," Yuan said lightly, with a helpless smile on his lips. "Has Kibutsuji Musen always been so brave? Asshole! Then you go to hell!" Musen Kibutsuji waved his hands, ready to launch a blood demon technique on Yuan as if he was about to explode. However, sudden change. A dark figure shrouded in moonlight descended from the sky. After realizing this, Musen Kibutsuji suddenly punched upwards. Buzz. The punch that contained the powerful force of the origin of demons only caused ripples in the air, and then all the power was dissipated by the dark figure. Musen Kibutsuji's expression suddenly changed. He felt that his power had not even burst out, but was absorbed or swallowed up. What kind of ability is this? Musen Kibutsuji wanted to ask angrily. But Shadow Rocks didn't give him a chance to breathe. The shadow force roars like a tsunami. Bang! One move! Musen Kibutsuji was smashed into the ground. It was as if they were killed instantly upon seeing each other. "Who are you?" The angry roar of Musen Kibutsuji spread out. His eyes were red, like a ferocious beast that was ready to devour its prey. But as soon as he raised his head, his vision suddenly darkened. Shadowborn Rocks takes a step forward. Stepping on Musen Kibutsuji's head on the ground was like stepping on a stone. Musen Kibutsuji was shaken, madness spread in his heart, murderous intent flowed, he wanted to kill someone. Kill them all. This kick caused him to suffer unprecedented humiliation. Or in front of the Demon Slayer Corps and the upper ranks, he stepped on himself. This level of humiliation is even worse than digging up one's ancestors' graves. How could the ancestor of ghosts be stepped on by someone? Something that will never be tolerated. Musen Kibutsuji's aura surged, and his blood demon technique condensed instantly. Snap! The ground where Muzan Kibutsuji's face touched cracked slightly. It wasn't a change caused by his outbreak of vampire magic. Instead, Shadow Clan Rocks exerted a little force with his feet. Shadow Rocks is just a shadow after all, and he can't speak. But if he could speak, he would probably express his doubts at this moment. Move? Did it make you move? To Rocks, the action of Muzan Kibutsuji gathering his strength was just a movement. So he put a little more force on his feet. Cracks appeared on the ground beneath Muzan Kibutsuji's face. A layer of hazy shadow lingered around Muzan Kibutsuji like a cage, and the power he unleashed seemed to be sucked into the darkness by a tornado. Shadow dominates everything. Muzan Kibutsuji felt the power in his body rapidly draining away, and he was completely stunned. I can't gather my strength? What on earth is going on? What kind of power does this human-shaped shadow have? Could this also be the strength of that Yun? What on earth is going on? Muzan Kibutsuji widened his eyes, feeling extremely sad and angry, and at the same time he was even more confused. For a moment he didn't know what to do. The scene was extremely quiet. Everyone's attention was drawn to the dark shadow stepping on Muzan Kibutsuji in the field. Being able to step on the ancestor of demons, maybe this is the first time that happens. The impact of this scene on the people around can be imagined. Abuyashiki Yoya held his wife's hand tightly, unconsciously increasing his strength, which showed that he was no longer calm. He knew very well how powerful and terrifying Muzan Kibutsuji was. But now, he was knocked down by one move and couldn't even get up. This? Abuyashiki Yoya no longer knew how to describe his feelings and emotions. His blood was boiling and his whole body was shaking unconsciously. Who is that? That's Kibutsuji Muzan. There are times when someone is stepped on and cannot move? This world has gone crazy. Is that really Muzan Kibutsuji? Tanjiro's eyes widened, his world was turned upside down again. The legendary ancestor of ghosts was just trampled underfoot? Could it be a fake Muzan Kibutsuji? That guy is so scary! Tomioka Ju's heart trembled violently. Seeing Shadow Rocks defeat Kibutsuji Muzan with one move and even continue to suppress him, Tomioka Ju admired his own courage. It turned out that he was so reckless during the day. At this moment, the only thing that emerged in Ju Tomioka's heart was the relief of surviving the disaster. Beimei Yugyum, Rengoku Kaijuro and all the other members of the Demon Slayer Corps were dumbfounded. The upper ranks were even more confused. Am I blind? Yuhu let out a strange cry with a trembling voice, as harsh as the sound of a bottle breaking. Jifutaro and Daki were already stiff. How is this possible? How could Lord Muzan be so vulnerable? Hantengu roared angrily. His heart was shaken, his emotions fluctuated violently, and he seemed like he would go crazy at any time. Akaza suddenly felt that his body, which was already cold, became even colder. An unspeakable fear spread from the bottom of his heart, and despair lingered. He had witnessed the horror of Un, and even doubted Muzan's power, but he had no choice but to come here to face Un. The result did not disappoint him, but was even more surprising. Are you kidding me? Doma thought he was still dreaming, otherwise how could he see the scene of Muzan Kibutsuji going berserk? Who are they? Kokushibo's 6 eyes almost popped out of his head, and he was so confused that he wanted to jump off the roof and kill himself. This kind of scene is something I dare not even dream of. The upper demons were shocked, but no one chose to take action. First, they were still in shock and hadn't reacted yet. Second, they thought that UN was still standing by and watching, and they would be courting death if they went there. The once invincible upper-rank demon finally experienced the feeling of being a fish on the chopping board. What's more, if they take action, the pillars watching the battle will naturally not stand idly by. When Kokushibo thought of this, he was confused and urged. Mingnu, what are you doing? Summon all the ghosts. Muzan Kibutsuji gathered all the demons he could summon. As long as he controlled the infinite castle through Naruto, he might be able to turn the situation around to a certain extent, or at least create chaos. Only after Kokoshibo spoke did the other upper ranks realize the problem. It's been so long, why didn't Mingnu act according to the plan? Did she betray? This is impossible. Doma instantly denied his guess and looked at Mingnu. Mingnu's eyes widened, her whole body trembling. There was only spreading despair in her emotionless eyes. I have lost contact with the Infinite City, Mingnu said tremblingly. It was as if that one sentence had drained all her strength. This is the demon who could take over upper rank 4 in the future, and at this moment he is about to collapse from the blow. Naruto reacted at the beginning, but the other upper ranks were all focused on Yun and did not notice Naruto's changes. After Mingnu appeared, she prepared to continue teleporting the lower rank ghosts, and then the ordinary ghosts. But when she tried to communicate with the Infinite City, she suddenly lost all sense of it. It felt as if the Infinite City had disappeared, or she had fallen into the barrier's domain, and was cut off from the Infinite City. No matter which one it is a very bad thing for Mingnu. Just as she was about to speak, Yun walked out, and she was shocked by his aura. Then it was Muzan Kibutsuji who spoke and took action, and she was knocked down and stepped on. This shocking scene and the disconnection from the Infinite City made Mingnu's world collapse. Infinite City disappears. Muzan Kibutsuji was killed instantly. To the ghosts, this is nothing but the sky falling. What did you say? Don't joke at this time. Duji shouted in disbelief. If there is no Infinite City, how can they leave here? The situation of Muzan Kibutsuji is uncertain. Can the 8 of them fight their way out from under the siege of the pillars? And face that mysterious man? This is not seeking death. Daki felt the psychological reaction of the long-lost death, which was entirely caused by fear. How is it possible that you can't contact the Infinite City? Why didn't you tell me about this earlier? Kokoshibo's face was gradually filled with murderous intent, looking a little hideous and terrifying. He is ready to fight to the death. Kuroshibo. Akaza opened his mouth to say something, but he was interrupted by the solemn voice of Beiminji Xingning. Be careful. Kokoshibo is accumulating strength. You can't get away today. Stop them. Fushigawa Saniya, Tomioka Ju and other pillars came back to their senses from their shock and immediately prepared for battle. Even Muzan Kibutsuji was trampled underfoot. What else do these remaining demons have to fear? The mentality of the pillars is completely different from that of the upper ranks. Rengoku Kaijuro subconsciously looked at Yun. In his eyes, Yun is simply a god who controls everything. However, the confrontation between the Demon Slayer Corps and the demons did not affect Yun in the slightest. It will not have any impact on the Shadow Rocks. Who are you? What are you going to do? We can discuss any issue. The suppressed Muzan Kibutsuji finally spoke, with a ferocious expression. Where was the dignity of a demon king? This moment. Muzan Kibutsuji finally realized the gap between himself and Yun. Especially after close contact, he found that this shadow-like guy who restrained him did not seem to be a living being at all, but more like a puppet without any emotions. But it is extremely powerful and puzzling. Lord Yun, this... Abuyashiki Yoya was still a little dumbfounded. Unexpectedly, Muzan Kibutsuji, who had troubled the Demon Slayer Corps for thousands of years, was subdued in one encounter. This is such a terrifying gap. If Yun is not a god, then what is he? That's right, the way Muzan Kibutsuji opened his mouth could be seen as a plea for mercy. After all, he had no power to fight back now. He even didn't dare to allow his body to be damaged. If the power in Akaza's body that suppressed the regeneration of ghosts was effective on him, it would be the end of him. So he had to bow his head. I had no choice but to negotiate. Actually, Muzan Kibutsuji has some ability to fight back against the Shadow Rocks. Although he cannot win, he will not lose so badly. The key is that the Shadow Rocks appeared too early. It happened too suddenly, and Muzan Kibutsuji also underestimated the power of the Shadow Rocks. In other words, based on his level of understanding, Muzan Kibutsuji had already overestimated the strength of Shadowborn Rocks. But he did not expect that Shadowborn Rocks was far beyond the limit of his understanding. This is why he ended up with such a tragic ending. Moreover, Shadow Rocks possesses the power of Un's shadow, which is the foundation of Un's power. How could it be broken by Muzan Kibutsuji? Do you know how to speak properly now? Yuen ignored Ubuyashiki Yoya and walked to Muzan Kibutsuji with a smile. He looked like a rich man strolling in a garden. With his hands behind his back, he looked down at the confused Muzan Kibutsuji. It is a rare opportunity to see the confused look in Muzan Kibutsuji's cold and aloof expression. Muzan Kibutsuji struggled to raise his head slightly, and looked at the young man in front of him. What came into view was a pair of calm eyes. It is a kind of peace where all beings are equal. Equality of all beings does not mean kindness, but represents unprecedented power. Everyone is equally weak in his eyes, which is called all beings are equal. A trace of silence flashed across Muzan Kibutsuji's eyes, and he said with annoyance and unwillingness, "I have lived for a long time, and it is impossible for someone as powerful as you to exist. This kind of power is definitely not supposed to exist." He reacts quickly. Or rather, he lived a really long time. He has seen many people and killed many people. I know this world very well, but I still can't find the red spider lily I'm looking for. The appearance of Yuen gave him a glimmer of hope in the fog. The hope of being freed from darkness and facing the sun. Snap! Shadow Rocks suddenly exerted force again. "I'm asking you a question." Yuen glanced at Muzan Kibutsuji without any emotion. This guy was too pretentious. It was really annoying to watch, otherwise, Yuen might not have let Shadow Clan Rocks deal such a heavy blow. Muzan Kibutsuji was so humiliated that his teeth were gnashing, and he struggled desperately but was only stepped on deeper and deeper, until the entire head was sunk into the ground. This scene reminded Yuen of a picture. The fire cloud evil god punched Ah Xing into the ground again and again, looking so miserable. Pity. Muzan Kibutsuji cannot be axing. I am not the fire cloud evil god. So, there is a price to pay for showing off. This scene made all the members of the Demon Slayer Corps feel heartbroken. The appearance of a scene that they had never dared to imagine in their dreams was too shocking for them. Kill! Rescue Master Muzan at all costs! Kokoshibo could no longer endure it, and his blood demon magic exploded. Type 1 Dark Moon, Palace of the Night! A powerful slash instantly formed and slashed towards Shadow Rocks. Kokoshibo's figure was as erratic as the wind, and he rushed out at an extremely fast speed. Even Jutomioka and Kaijuro Rengoku on the roof were unable to react. Amit Ba! Beiminji Xingning sensed the change in the aura and blocked Kokoshibo's way with a broad axe in hand. The meteor hammer was crushed by Yun, leaving only the chain and the broad axe. Although it has some impact on his strength, it will not make him unable to withstand Kokoshibo. When the two men clashed, and the air flow vibrated. At this time, the members of the Demon Slayer Corps finally reacted and took action. However, Kokoshibo's attack was too sudden, and the other upper-rank demons were in shock, so how could they suddenly react and attack? So by the time Jutomioka, Rengoku Kaijuro and the others reacted, Doma, Gyokutsu and the others had just reacted. The war broke out instantly and all the figures moved. At the same time, although Jiomiai of Beiminji blocked Kokoshibo, the powerful slash launched by Kokoshibo was mixed with a sharp edge and approached Shadow Rocks. Kokoshibo thought that if he could just shake the Shadow Rocks a little and give Muzan Kibutsuji a chance to breathe, he would not be controlled. His idea is good, but the reality made him regret it. Shadowborn Rocks was about to be unable to dodge the attack. Or maybe he didn't even want to hide. Bang! Shadowborn Rocks suddenly fired a shot. Big football. Shoot! But what's under his feet is not a football, but Muzan Kibutsuji. He kicked Muzan Kibutsuji away and crashed into Kokoshibo's slashing attack. The force of this kick was so great that cracks appeared on half of Muzan Kibutsuji's body. Just as Muzan Kibutsuji felt that he had pulled his head out of the ground, a familiar sword light suddenly appeared in front of him. Dark Moon! Black Death! Muzan Kibutsuji's desire to curse is definitely not fake. Sir! Kokushibo was also stunned when he saw this scene. How can you play like this? It was too late for him to control the slash. Bang! There was another loud noise. The slashing blow exploded, emitting an extremely strong impact. The half of Muzan Kibutsuji's body, which was already full of cracks, scattered in the air like fireworks. Thump! Muzan Kibutsuji fell to the ground. The scene fell silent again. The Demon Slayer Corps and the Waxing Moons, who were preparing for a fight just now, all stared at the scene in front of them in dumbfounded silence again. Muzan Kibutsuji, the symbol of power and terror, is being played around with like a toy today. Is this really Muzan Kibutsuji? Tanjiro had deep doubts in his mind. If Muzan Kibutsuji knew that his identity was under suspicion, he would probably be so angry that he would spit out a mouthful of cold blood. Lousy, who the hell can I go to for justice? Lousy is the victim. Gurgle. The sound of someone swallowing broke the silence. All the people and ghosts came back to their senses. Grown-ups! Kokushibo rushed to Muzan at a loss, and looking at the miserable appearance of Muzan, he had no idea what to do. When has he ever seen Muzan Kibutsuji like this? Jifutaro and Daki's faces were as pale as could be. To them, it was truly like the sky had fallen. Oh! Muzan Kibutsuji stood up shakily, and a sound like heavy gasps came from his throat. This was certainly not a gasp, but rather the grief and anger of Muzan Kibutsuji. At this time, half of Muzan Kibutsuji's body was almost gone, and his legs and feet were only supported by skeletons. Blood was surging. Muzan Kibutsuji was stunned. He activated his regeneration ability, and it failed. At this moment, the sky of Muzan Kibutsuji has also fallen. Impossible! My regenerative ability cannot fail! What on earth have you done to me? Muzan Kibutsuji was roaring hysterically and was completely confused. He thought he would be killed, or die in the sun, but he never thought that his regeneration ability would fail at night. He originally thought that Akaza's regenerative ability was ineffective because of some special method. Moreover, as the ancestor of demons, Muzan Kibutsuji naturally has confidence. But I didn't expect it. The failure of the ghost's regeneration ability is not a special method at all, it is a normal method. Hearing the voice of Muzan Kibutsuji, Kokushibo's body suddenly stiffened. The failure of regeneration ability, does it mean that I can be killed? This was the first time he saw the appearance of death since he became a ghost. Oh my God, what is going on in this world? Doma held his head, almost collapsing. Muzan Kibutsuji was completely defeated, and now even his regeneration ability has failed. Isn't he going to be killed soon? Then wouldn't I be able to escape? Mingnu had already given up hope. She was the first to give up. When Mingnu couldn't contact Infinite City, she knew that something big was going to happen today, but it was too late. However, Muzan Kibutsuji's words caused an uproar among the Demon Slayer Corps. What did Muzan say? Am I hallucinating? Yuzuri Tengen's face was full of disbelief. I seem to hear him say that his regenerative ability has failed. Beiminju Xingming said honestly, with an unconfident tone. The most perverted ability of a ghost is that it cannot be killed. Unless their heads are chopped off, they can regenerate from any injury. Now that their regeneration ability has failed, what's the difference between them and humans? Everyone's eyes were focused on Muzan Kibutsuji. Abuyashiki Yoya showed a bit of hope on his face. Muzan, you yourself didn't expect that you would have such a day. Put an end to Muzan Kibutsuji, and put an end to all demons. Complete the goal that the Demon Slayer Corps has always had. Fulfilling mankind's long-cherished wish. The look when Abuyashiki Yoya truly saw hope. The regeneration ability fails? How on earth did Lord Yuan do it? Fushigi Miya exclaimed in disbelief. He simply couldn't understand what kind of power could prevent ghosts from regenerating. Rengo Kakayajuro suddenly turned his head to look at Akaza, and suddenly realized. I see. I was wondering why Upper Rank 3's arm hasn't grown back yet, it turns out it can't regenerate. He watched Yun cut off Akaza's arm. At that time, I didn't understand why Akaza was so shocked. Now, looking back, I think Akaza probably realized that his arm could not regenerate, so he chose to leave honestly. Kaijiro noticed Akaza from the beginning and was curious why Akaza didn't grow his arms back. Now I understand everything. Even Musen Kibutsuji can't regenerate. What about upper rank 3? Thinking of this, Rengoku Kaijiro admired Yuen even more. The trouble that the Demon Slayer Corps had spent 1,000 years trying to solve was easily solved by this sudden appearance. Rengoku Kaijiro saw the dawn of victory. If we can solve the demon troubles, it will also be a comfort to the countless predecessors of the Demon Slayer Corps who sacrificed their lives. After getting personal confirmation from Musen Kibutsuji, no one doubted the truth of the inability to regenerate anymore. Instead, they were all shocked by Yun's powerful and mysterious strength. Musen Kibutsuji was truly confused. An unprecedented fear and panic spread in my heart. He was always seeking relief. But his liberation was freedom, not real death. Put away your arrogance in front of me. I'll only give you one chance. Yuen raised his head slightly and said calmly. Calmness is an emotion that includes indifference. Musen Kibutsuji's body trembled violently, as if he understood the meaning of Yun's words. In fact, Musen Kibutsuji is unable to resist. Yun has already clashed with the will of the world and gained the upper hand. This world will eventually be under his control. The power and stronger willpower he brought from the pirate world can change the rules of this world. Therefore, the power of Musen Kibutsuji can be easily controlled. In other words, Yun is the master. Even if he has not occupied this world yet, he is still the master. A master that no one can contend with. Musen Kibutsuji didn't want to surrender, but his soul was trembling. After Yun expressed his willingness, the world echoes him. The sky, the earth, the wind, even a blade of grass or a tree, will not allow anything to exist that goes against his will. To disobey is to die. Musen Kibutsuji's inner struggle was not intense, because there were only two choices, surrender or die. He didn't want to be truly disappointed. So I can only surrender. Sir, I am willing to serve you. Musen Kibutsuji spoke with difficulty. He had never said anything like that in his life. I have never surrendered to anyone else. Kibutsuji Musen surrenders. This has an even stronger impact on the people around them. Lord Musen, what are you saying? Kokoshibo's face twitched, and he looked incredulous. Did Kibutsuji Musen surrender immediately? He didn't know how strong the impact of Yun's power was on Musen Kibutsuji. The most important thing is that Musen Kibutsuji thought of a very important point. Since Yun has the power to completely wipe him out, does he also have the ability to truly free him? If he could be liberated and step into true freedom, Musen Kibutsuji wouldn't care whether he surrendered or not. It is human nature to surrender to someone who is stronger than you. What are you talking about? How many people have you killed? Do you regret it now? Do you want to surrender? Impossible! Kibutsuji Musen! You must go to hell! Buzai Kawai couldn't hold back his emotions and yelled wildly. Can't win and choose to surrender? There is no such good thing. Abuyashiki Yoya looked at the victory within reach, with an uncontrollable emotion on his face, and whispered. Lord Yuen, Musen Kibutsuji must not be let go. If he escapes, it will be a greater disaster. As the Lord, Abuyashiki Yoya definitely wants to eliminate Musen Kibutsuji the most. Seeing Musen Kibutsuji surrender, how could Abuyashiki Yoya give Musen Kibutsuji a chance to survive? He quickly began to persuade Yuen. Yuen's eyes moved, he nodded slightly, and said in a loud voice. I know you have grievances, I can settle it all, but don't try to make me do things your way. Do you understand? After all, Yun came here to expand power, not to solve problems for the Demon Slayer Corps. Whoever surrenders can live. Whoever obeys will live. Otherwise, whether it's the Demon Slayer Corps or the demons, just die. Yuen's voice was a little soft, but very clear. Like a gust of wind blowing by. Instantly, Abuyashiki Yoya's entire body went cold. He took a step back in disbelief, even wondering if he had heard it wrong. Lord Yuen, do you mean not to kill them? Beiminju Xingming's heart suddenly tightened and he became nervous. When they thought that Yun was going to let Muzan Kibutsuji go, all the members of the Demon Slayer Corps were stunned. Since you have submitted to me, why should I kill you? Yun asked quietly. But they are ghosts, Rengo Kakaijuro said in shock. Nezuko is also a demon, said Yun. Well, Nezuko is different from them. Tomioka Ju was anxious and wanted to persuade Yun to change his decision. But suddenly, a dark shadow blocked the moonlight from the sky. Shadow-born rocks looked down at the Demon Slayer Corps members with such a powerful aura that everyone could feel his cold, murderous intent and ruthlessness. This moment, the members of the Demon Slayer Corps felt like they were falling into an icy cave. They originally thought that they could completely solve the problem of ghosts, but they didn't expect that Yun actually wanted to subdue the ghosts. What should I do? Thank you, sir. I am willing to follow you. Upon seeing this, Muzan Kibutsuji immediately supported half of his body, knelt down, and saluted respectfully towards Yun. This? What are you still standing there for? Doma was confused by this scene and was slightly hesitant. But Akaza reacted and immediately began to salute Yun. I am willing to go through fire and water for you, sir, without hesitation. Seeing this, Kokoshibo, Gyokutsubo, and the others had no more reason to hesitate. Even Kibutsuji Muzan had surrendered, so wasn't it normal for them to surrender? And the people who follow them are even more powerful. The situation that was originally about to be eliminated by the Demon Slayer Corps seemed to have suddenly reversed. There might be a chance to completely eliminate all the pillars of the Demon Slayer Corps. Looking at the demons saluting respectfully, the members of the Demon Slayer Corps stiffened, finding it difficult to accept. Since you have chosen to surrender, you must follow my rules from now on. First, you must not forcefully convert humans and ghosts. Second, control your men and do not attack humans. Third, redivide your teams. Each waxing moon will lead a waning moon as a team. Each of you should manage the ghosts under your command. If a team dares to violate my rules, all the ghosts in this team will be executed. Miraina controls the Infinite Castle, and Kibutsuji Muzan is responsible for commanding all the demons. Did you all hear that clearly? Yun's sharp gaze swept across the figures of Muzan Kibutsuji and the waxing moons, causing them to tremble uncontrollably. They were all shocked, or rather, surprised, by Yun's arrangement. They are ghosts. How to live in peace with humans? But Yun's sense of oppression was there, and he would not allow any violation. I heard it clearly. Muzan Kibutsuji spoke first. The other ghosts responded one after another. They just have to save their lives first, and deal with other problems later. Lord Yun, they are ghosts, how could they not attack humans? They cannot resist blood. Abuyashikiyoya's body swayed and he said in a daze. He suddenly saw no hope. The huge reversal of events was a huge blow to him. Lord Yun, I can kill all demons who cannot control themselves, Muzan Kibutsuji quickly assured. Kokoshibo was shocked. Wouldn't this mean killing all the ghosts except them? That team thing is a joke. No, I have a way to solve your problem. Yun spoke up to stop him. Every world has its own rules. The rules of the pirate world are different from the rules of the demon world. The demons born under the rules of the Demon Slayer world have certain immortal abilities, which is also what Yun likes. Even if ghosts were placed in the pirate world, they would probably be a big trouble. I'm afraid only Bakon can completely wipe it out. Of course, these are all Yun's assessments of the rules of the two worlds in his mind. Yun is not sure about the details. But if we can change the ghosts' fear of sunlight and their thirst for blood, we can create an immortal team. Of course, immortality is relative. If one is strong enough, or if it involves the level of rules and will, it can be achieved. But in other words, such existence is a minority after all. This kind of immortality is similar to the method of impure world reincarnation, and both have relative weaknesses. What Yun wants is an army that can expand territory and conquer all worlds. Be strong enough and not afraid of death. Now the ghost's ability just happens to meet this requirement. As long as the problems with sunlight and blood are solved, everything will be fine. in comparison. On the contrary, Yuan pays more attention to demons, and the Demon Slayer course seems ordinary. Sir, do you mean that you can make demons lose their desire for blood? Muzan Kibutsuji couldn't believe it. Not only that, I can also make you not afraid of the sun. Confidence burst out of Yuan's eyes. With heaven-defying enlightenment, none of this is a problem. See the sun! Muzan Kibutsuji's voice was filled with excitement. Sir, is what you said true? Then what do we need to do? Kokushibo suddenly lost his composure. Sir, I'm willing to do anything you ask us to do. Doma immediately promised. See the sun again. They haven't seen the sun for hundreds of years. And, does seeing the sun mean that they have broken through to the highest realm? When the other waxing moons were about to speak out their sincere feelings, Yuan waved his hand and said, Okay, stop talking nonsense. After a while, I will create a new training method for you, which will allow you to have the abilities of a ghost while also being like a normal person. However, your physical characteristics will not allow you to become a human. Yuan's words almost made Muzan Kibutsuji and the other's eyes light up. Moreover, Muzan Kibutsuji felt the regenerative power in his body revive, and his body recovered completely in the blink of an eye. The same thing happened to Akaza. His broken arm grew back. It's a miracle. Thank you, sir. Akaza hurriedly bowed to express his gratitude. Muzan Kibutsuji was slightly stunned, and murmured, Higanbana, Higanbana, it turns out that Lord Yuan is the Higanbana that can free me. Yuan is now like a god in his heart. If one day Yuan can really solve the ghost problem, he will become the faith of all ghosts. The Shadow Emperor completely controls the demon world. In the eyes of upper-rank demons such as Muzan Kibutsuji and Akaza, what Yuan said was simply a miracle. As for whether it can be realized, all they can do is pray. After all, they didn't dare to refute what Yuan said. Lord Yuan, are you telling the truth? The one who asked was Tanjiro. Yuan's plan completely confused the young man. Can ghosts become good? And they are not afraid of the sun like Nezuko? Even the blood problem has been solved. Then what is the difference between ghosts and humans? Kid, it's not your place to question what the adults say. Akaza immediately scolded. Just by virtue of Yun's ability to control his body's regenerative ability at will, Akaza completely surrendered to him. Although they were created by Muzan Kibutsuji to a certain extent, the situation has changed now. Even if Muzan Kibutsuji surrenders honestly, the upper demons will not have any psychological burden. They just hope that Yun can bring them the beginning of. What qualifications do you have to speak here? Fugang Yiyong held his sword across his body and spoke in a bad tone. Okay, you've heard my plan. You don't need to live in harmony. Just keep to yourself. Yun chose not to hide it anymore. I am indeed not from your world, but from another world. Another world. Tanjiro's eyes widened like bells, and he was extremely shocked. Not only Tanjiro, but also Obuyashiki Koya, Kibutsuji Muzan and others were all stunned. Another world? What kind of world is that? How did you get here? They were all very curious and full of doubts. Even if I tell you, you won't understand. You just need to know that I will leave soon. Muzan Kibutsuji will lead the demons to leave with me. As for the members of the Demon Slayer Corps, it's up to you whether to leave or not. And I can recover the loss. Yun informed them of his initial plan. Leave this world? Where are we going? Asked Muzan Kibutsuji subconsciously. He used to be a leader, but now he suddenly became the one being arranged for. Especially leaving this world, which was an area he had never touched before. Of course it's other worlds. There are so many wonderful things that you have never seen, Yun said with a smile. He didn't need to describe it, he just naturally made them yearn for another world. Sir, Obuyashiki Yoya hesitated. If the demon problem is solved, he will no longer be able to make decisions for the Demon Slayer Corps members. Don't worry about giving me an answer. I will stay here for a while, and you still have a chance to discuss and think about it. Seeing this, Yun did not force them to make a decision. Now that the Demon Slayer world has been conquered and the forces from the pirate world have been added, the combined strength is not weak. As long as you don't encounter a perverted world, then everything will be fine. With the appearance of Yuan, the Demon Slayer world was conquered in one day. First, the will of the Shadow Emperor is more powerful. After all, it is the power that defeats the will of the pirate world and completely suppresses the Demon Slayer world. The second is Muzen Kibutsuji, or the Demon Slayer Core. They bear the power of the world's will, but they are not strong and are directly suppressed and subdued by Yuan. The world's will can't find any way to resist. Next, it's time to enter Yuan's rhythm. His willpower gradually took control of the entire world, and he thoroughly analyzed the laws of willpower in the demon-destroying world, and finally created a demon cultivation method based on his understanding of heaven defying. A brand new way of practicing. No more fear of the sun. After being transformed, one can change blood problems through cultivation. This is the perversion of heaven defying. At the same time, Yun studied the way the power of devil fruits coexisted in other people's bodies. Another thing is that it can perfectly replicate the devil fruit ability of the ability user. Create a real devil fruit army. Imagine if Kaido, Big Mom, Golden Lion and others had 2 or even 3 powerful devil fruit powers, then the strength they could exert would be even higher. This is Yuan's goal. As for the training method of ghosts, although they seem to be immortal and can be reborn, they can actually be killed. The upper limit of their strength is very limited, far from the level of the monsters in the pirate world. Their power comes more from their raw blood. Yun didn't like this method, and he would never use his own blood to create such a fighting force that was against human ethics. Therefore, Yuan will not promote this method of practice on a large scale. It would be enough if we had Muzen Kibutsuji leading an army. Cannon fodder that cannot die. Spring goes and autumn comes, winter comes and summer goes. The 4 seasons change very distinctly. It seemed like 3 years had passed in the blink of an eye. During these 3 years, the Demon Slayer world has undergone tremendous changes. The ghost, which originally symbolized evil and hid in the darkness, now stands in the sun again. And they no longer attack humans, achieving true peaceful coexistence. The person who brought them all these changes was called Yuan. Yuan is already the god of this world. Human offerings. Even the ghosts believed it. This is why the 2 sides can coexist peacefully. Muzen Kibutsuji, through practicing the training system created by Yuan, has truly broken free from the shackles, is not afraid of the sun, and has broken through to the supreme realm. This is already the limit of the Demon Slayer world. However, the training system created by Yuan is influenced by the will of the Shadow Emperor, so Muzen Kibutsuji still has a chance to become stronger in the future. Kokushibo, Doma, Akaza, Gyokutsu, Hantengu, Jitaru, and Daki have all broken through to the Supreme Realm, but they still have differences in strength. The power of the demons was also completely integrated into 6 legions, each led by a 6th upper-rank demon. Mingnu is in charge of the Infinite City and is the center of everything. This is the cannon fodder group that Yuan wants to create. With the help of Yuan, Aoyashiki Yoya was cured and began to practice. The pillars such as Gyumei of Baiming Island, Minami Fushigawara, and Kaijuro Rengoku all used the special training methods taught by Yuan to reach the realm of opening the transparent world of Madara pattern. It can be said that the overall strength has become stronger. Even Tenjiro, Zenitsu Agatsuma, and Inosuke Hashibara have joined the ranks of the Madara pattern. Moreover, their Madara lines can be maintained normally and will not cause irreparable damage to the body. This is the power and perversion of Yuan. One morning, Yuan watched the sun slowly rise and murmured, "It's been 3 years. It's time to go back and take a look." The problems with the demons and the Demon Slayer Corps have been solved, and they have all been able to use new training methods to reach a higher level. All preparations are complete. It also took Yuan a lot of time to completely control this world. The Devil Fruit's ability to have multiple lives in one body has also been revealed. The pirate world, what has become of those guys? I hope they don't all die. A smile appeared on Yun's lips. The space channel slowly opened in front of him. Yun achieved his goal and also helped Muzen Kibutsuji and the others to improve their strength, so it was time to leave. In 3 years, to what extent will the pirate world become in chaos? As Yuan's mind moved slightly, the space channel opened again. He has established a two-way channel between the pirate world and the demon slayer world. As long as Yun is willing, the two worlds can communicate with each other. When Yun arrives in other worlds, he can directly establish a space channel and summon Muzan Kibutsuji's army. The movement in the space channel alarmed Muzan Kibutsuji and the demon slayer corps. Brush, brush, brush. Several figures came and went. Sir, are you ready to leave? Muzan Kibutsuji bowed slightly and asked respectfully. He basked in the sunshine and was officially liberated with the help of Yuan. The strength has also reached a higher level. After witnessing how powerful Yun was, Muzan Kibutsuji admired and respected him even more. Well, I'll leave first. I'll summon you directly when I need you. When you see this passage again, walk in and you will see me, said Yun. I obey your command, replied Muzan Kibutsuji. The 6 legions are on standby at all times. Kokoshibo and other upper-rank demons saluted at the same time, their voices filled with excitement. There is actually a chance to conquer other worlds. In the past, they would not even dare to think about it. Lord Yuan, we are also willing to follow you. Abuyashiki Yoya suddenly stood up and said loudly. His tone was firm. Behind him, the pillars including Gyumei Hirame, Saniya Fushigawara, Jutomioka, and Kyojuro Rengoku also had hopeful looks on their faces. They originally resisted associating with ghosts. However, during these 3 years, they saw the changes in the ghosts under the leadership of Yuan. Even Yuan helped their lord cure his serious illness, and with Yuan's help, they also made breakthroughs and improved their strength. During this period of time, they were free and had nothing to do. The thought that Muzan Kibutsuji and the others actually had the opportunity to go outside and take a look made the pillars very unbalanced. They wanted to prove that they were stronger than demons. So after discussion, they decided to follow Yuan to explore the more exciting and mysterious world. You've thought it through? Yuan asked with a smile. He did not force the Demon Slayer Corps, just let things take their own course. Yes, sir, we have made up our mind, Abuyashiki Yoya said solemnly. After recovering, he was able to practice cultivation slowly and his speech became more powerful. Then you will lead the Demon Slayer Corps as a combat corps. When the space channel appears, the Demon Slayer Corps and Muzan's Corps will leave together. But I have one thing to say first. If any disputes arise between you during my absence, don't blame me for being ruthless. Yuan gave the order, and then warned him with concern. Yes. The Demon Slayer Corps definitely won't. Muzan Kibutsuji and Kyuya Abuyashiki were startled and spoke one after another. The upper-rank demons lowered their heads, not daring to have any thoughts. Yun's rule is that if one of their subordinates breaks the rule, their entire army will be annihilated, which means they will also be buried with him. How can they not be careful? Anyone who has seen the magical powers of Yuan would not dare to have any thoughts about it. Okay, let's go. Yuan turned around, stepped into the space passage, and left in style. Farewell, my lord! The demons and the Demon Slayer Corps shouted in unison. They had never had such a harmonious scene. The Demon Slayer world has a single force, so it's easy to conquer. If you encounter a world like One Piece, you really have to gather a large army to push through it. Yuan thought silently in his heart. Suddenly, everything in front of my eyes became bright. A figure suddenly appeared on the endless sea. Huh! It's on the sea? It seems that a small difference in coordinates can cause a big deviation. The person who came was Yun, who returned from the Demon Slayer world. He murmured, I'm coming back this time to improve their strength. It's still too difficult for them to have multiple devil fruit abilities coexisting. Unless they can touch a trace of willpower, they can withstand the second devil fruit ability. The training methods in the pirate world are all influenced by the will of the previous world, and it is unlikely to change in a short period of time. But as long as you are strong enough, it is not a problem. The main problem is how to condense the devil fruit power and then integrate it into everyone. Maybe it involves technology. This is also the execution plan deduced by Yuan. Now all that's left to do is find them. Yuan sensed a familiar breath, and his figure flashed and disappeared on the sea. Egg Point Island. Long asked us to send all the energy shields to Elbaf, Sakia said to the busy Vegapunk, with helplessness in his tone. What does Elbaf's affairs have to do with me? Is this Long a reasonable guy? Vegapunk stopped his work and cursed angrily. We can't help it. The Battle of Elbaf is out of control. The dragons and marines have joined forces to barely stop the spread of the war, Sakia explained. He actually knew that even if Vegapunk was angry, he would still go there. Damn it! The cost of making the energy shield in the past 2 years is almost as much as my research in half a lifetime. What are those monster guys doing fighting? Vegapunk cursed and turned to walk towards the storage room. Sakia smiled bitterly and said, Alas, those super monsters can destroy the heavens and the earth when they start to attack. If they really use all their strength, the sea will be overturned. Without the energy shield to resist the impact, our experiment will also be affected. It looks like Elbaf is very exciting. The sudden sound made Vegapunk freeze in place. He turned around and looked at the guy who appeared out of nowhere. Instead of being afraid, he looked relieved and said excitedly, You are finally back! You left the mess behind and left it to those guys. They are capable of handling it. A peaceful person? These 3 years have been so hard for me. Lord Yuan. Sakia bowed respectfully. Okay, I'm back. Since you're full of complaints, I'll give you a study that will interest you. Yuan didn't care about Vegapunk's attitude and still said with a smile. He has sensed the guys in Elbaf, Charlotte, Golden Lion, Kaido, Lin, Luffy, Shanks, Law, Hawkeye, and Marine's old friends, Sengoku, Garp, Akainu, Akiji and Kizaru were also there, as were the cadres of the revolutionary army led by Ryu. It's simply the beginning of a super war. What research? Vegapunk's eyes lit up. Any research that Yuan could show off must not be a simple problem. Build a machine that can extract the power of a devil fruit, and then transfer the power to another person. The goal is to allow a person to have a second devil fruit power. Remember, this is not the technology of Seraph. What we want is a perfect replica of our abilities. And eliminate the restraint of seawater on devil fruit users. Etc. What did you say? Vegapunk's eyes widened instantly, and he looked at Yuan in shock. Even Yun's sudden appearance just now didn't give him such a big shock. But Yuan's words seemed to stir up a storm in Vegapunk's heart, shocking him. Let one person possess 2 devil fruit powers? Not everyone is Blackbeard. Besides, how is it possible to eliminate the influence of seawater on devil fruit users? Shakyamuni was also confused. He followed Vegapunk and came into contact with all kinds of research materials. His understanding of devil fruits was very profound. He even created Seraphim, but he could not understand the plan that Yuan mentioned. Brother, can we stop joking? You know the power of the devil fruit, it can't exist in a person's body. Vegapunk thought about it, and gave a negative answer. Yuan smiled helplessly and asked, What about me? Vegapunk paused, then said without hesitation. Who can compare with a pervert like you? No, a monster! Abnormal. Although Vegapunk changed his words, these 2 words are still very clear. Yuan's mouth twitched, and he said helplessly, I have drawn all the drawings, you just need to make them according to them. Where can we find the power of devil fruits? Vegapunk questioned. Most of the devil fruits have been eaten now. If we want to extract the power, we need their blood. Oh, that's right. If it were you, this wouldn't be a problem. Vegapunk suddenly realized it, and the next second he couldn't help but ask. That's not right. Then how can you eliminate the weaknesses of the devil fruit ability user? No matter how you think about it, the plan that Yuan mentioned is just a fantasy. That depends on how many fragments of will they grab, Yuan said mysteriously. Fragments of will? What's the value of that thing? How about you give me 2 pieces so I can study them? Vegapunk asked curiously. It's not that he doesn't want the fragment of will, but the various forces are fighting for it so fiercely. He has no chance to get involved, and even his attempts to exchange or buy it have been harshly rejected. When you make the instrument I want, I will consider giving you 2 pieces of fragments for research. Yuan Lang smiled and said, Okay, I won't talk nonsense with you. Here are the drawings. Give them to me as soon as possible. Make it. After saying that, Yuan waved his hand. Boom! The pile of papers was crowded together, like a square hill. It even shook the laboratory. Vegapunk's face trembled violently, and his head seemed to have grown bigger. Damn! That's all the drawings you have? What on earth are you going to do? He was dumbfounded. You'll know when you see it. Yuan's voice came from afar. He had already left. Vegapunk frowned, and with curiosity he walked forward and began to look through the pile of drawings that was like a small mountain. As he browsed, his eyes gradually changed. That look is shining. Excitement, thrill, shock, everything. Damn! What kind of brain does this pervert have? He can even think of such a thing! Vegapunk seemed to be cursing, but his tone was full of admiration. Even he couldn't think of such an amazing thing. Aren't we going to deliver the energy shield? Sakya couldn't help but persuade Vegapunk as he looked at him operating the machine and starting to organize the drawings. He's back now, what else are we going to do? Vegapunk didn't even raise his head and went into work mode. An incredible technology is being born. At the same time, Elbath. The wind was rising and the waves were raging. This is the territory of the giants, known as the world's most powerful nation. But at this time there were enemies everywhere. Because the largest fragment of will appeared here, for them, it was a fragment of power. That's why there is competition. The fragments of the world's will have turned into the purest form of energy. By absorbing and integrating it, one can gain new powers. All the strong men have experienced this, so this largest piece of fragment has become a must-fight object. Everyone knows that whoever can integrate and absorb this largest fragment will definitely become the number 1 person under Yuan. Both Charlotte and Luffy are fighting for this fragment. Charlotte has the power given by Yuan, and after 3 years of training and integration, she has become invincible. Only Luffy can be compared with her. In comparison, Kaido, Shanks, and Golden Lion have also fused and absorbed will fragments, but their strength is slightly inferior to Charlotte and Luffy. The fragments of will were like energy drinks. Absorbing and integrating them would make them stronger, or in other words, they would be able to exert greater power. This is what everyone is fighting for. And this fragment of will revealed in the treasure tree atom attracted everyone to come. Everyone who can finally grab the fragment depends on your own ability. Red-haired Shanks drew out Griffin and slowly stepped forward. The rich conquerors vibrated the surrounding void, causing ripples of lightning. Shanks is much stronger than he was 3 years ago. Behind him were the red-hair pirates executives, all ready to go. Ha! It must be Lousies! The Golden Lion laughed without any scruples. Whoever dares to compete with Charlotte, I will kill him with my own hands. Charlotte Linling's domineering aura exploded and she shouted at the people around her. Behind her are the 3 generals of the Big Mom pirates, and in front of her is Charlotte, who has shed some of her childishness. Mom, I'll grab it myself, Charlotte said helplessly. The aura around him is more terrifying than Shanks and Ant. Junior brother, it's impossible for everyone to reach the top. I will help you stop other competitors. Hawkeye walked over slowly, holding a black knife, full of murderous intent. First, there is only one piece of debris. Secondly, Hawkeye knew it would be difficult for him to get it, so he helped Charlotte get it. The fragment is right on top of the treasure tree atom. Master, the Straw Hat Boy and the Red Hair Pirates may be secretly teaming up, Enel whispered to Charlotte. This is not only a fight for fragments, but also a contest between the various camps. Hee everybody! Get ready! Luffy's laughter rang out. He covered one eye, and his conquerors all over his body exploded, instantly entering the awakened form. Hey! Our captain said he wants this piece of debris! Zoro pulled out 3 knives domineeringly, holding the Kazuo Ikimanji in his mouth, with the blades facing all opponents. Oh la 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 la, then Laozi will go first. Kaido laughed loudly, and suddenly turned into a blue dragon surrounded by black clouds, leaping into the clouds. The fragment is at the top of the precious tree atom that is submerged in the clouds. Kaido! You are so cunning! The golden lion raised his eyebrows and cursed. But suddenly, an even more violent aura burst out. Ha ha! You guys are so fanciful! This is Laozi's territory! You don't deserve to be so presumptuous here! A burly giant figure appeared and punched the azure dragon's head. Thunder explodes. The clouds in the sky were stirred into dark vortices by this momentum. Suddenly someone exclaimed, Loki! How did that guy get released? Loki! There was a commotion among the crowd, and they all showed interest in the newcomer. That was a giant with a super burly figure. He was wearing Viking clothing and a dark gray helmet, with a pair of long horns extending from the top of his head, and both of his eyes were wrapped in bandages. He is like a giant mountain, even taller than the average giant. With such a large body, he reached out and grabbed the azure dragon's tail. Black flames floated, and Kaido and Loki's conqueror's domineering auras collided violently. But Qinglong was finally pulled down by Loki. Boom! Kaido slammed heavily to the ground. Lord Kaido! Jin whizzed past and landed where Kaido fell. I'm fine, how could this damn guy suddenly appear? Kaido's voice came from the huge pit. Then Jin saw the blue dragon Kaido transformed into an orc, surrounded by flames, and walked out of the dust with a suppressed aura. Loki's appearance only caught him off guard and did not cause any actual injury. Ha 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 ha! Laozi didn't allow it! No one is allowed to go up! Loki stomped his feet heavily on the ground, causing a strong vibration, and looked down at the dwarves in his eyes, and shouted a warning. Is it really Loki? Isn't he imprisoned by the giants? Why would the giants let him out? On the marine warships surrounding Elbath, Sengoku said with a frown. Long also revealed a trace of worry. This guy is known as the one who destroys the world. Judging from the way he attacked just now, he may have also merged the power fragments, and is on the same level as those guys. By the way, are we really not going to help Straw Hat Boy? Ivankov whispered behind Long. We have our responsibilities. Why hasn't Vegapunk made any move yet? Those guys up there are about to fight. Long frowned. Without an energy shield to resist the impact, the resulting tsunami might submerge all the surrounding islands. Borsellino, what's going on with Vegapunk? Sengoku turned his head and asked Kizaru. I don't know, his Den Mushi can't be reached. Maybe he is obsessed with some research again. Kizaru looked helpless. Akainu, who was sitting on the side, suddenly stood up and said, Then just go and stop them. You want the battle to be more intense. Akiji said with a deadpan expression. Akiji and the others have now returned to Marine, with Sengoku taking temporary command to rebuild Marine and maintain order in the sea. The Revolutionary Army is led by Dragon, and begins to cooperate with Marine to liberate the country on the sea. Without the harm of the celestial dragons, the creation of a beautiful home is just around the corner. But the only turmoil was the fragments of power left by Yun, which caused competition among various parties. All the strong men present have obtained it and improved their strength. Hey, this is all the mess left by Yun. I don't know where this guy went to have fun. Garp complained quietly. After fusing the fragments, these old guys returned to their peak, as if they were reborn, otherwise Jean Guo would not have been able to step forward and take charge of the situation. That guy, it's better if he's not here. If he's around, then we really can't control him. Long said with lingering fear, as if he remembered the horrifying scene when Yuan pacified the celestial dragons with one move. That punch was so damn cool. That makes sense. John Guo nodded in agreement. He thought what Long said made sense, it was just a little confusing now. If Yuan was here, then nothing would have anything to do with them because they would have to listen to Yuan. Yo, so you guys are the ones who are teasing me behind my back? A joking voice suddenly sounded. Sengoku, Garp, Ryu, Akiji, Akainu, Kizaru, Ivankov. Everyone's body suddenly stiffened. Long turned his head and saw the young man who appeared out of nowhere. After 3 years, his smile was still as scary as before. "When did you come back?" Dragon exclaimed. "Why are you back?" John Guo was also confused. Could it be that my inner prayer just now was not sincere enough? "No, this is Laozi's world. Why don't you allow Laozi to come back?" Yuan was both angry and amused by these people's reactions. "That's not what I meant. How long have you been eavesdropping?" Garp rubbed his hands. Yuan said angrily. "I heard everything you said." "What? You don't welcome me? How dare we? We were just joking." "Lord Yuan, just take it as a joke. Your skin is still so good after not seeing you for so long, full of hormones." Ivankov explained quickly. "Start changing the subject. Okay, let's see who can grab the last fragment in the end." Yuan waved his hand, not wanting to listen to his nonsense anymore. "Let them rob. Aren't we going to stop them?" John Guo was confused. "That's right, they can destroy the surrounding sea area if they take action. Long also hopes that Yuan will come forward to stop them." Yuan smiled and said, "With me here, what kind of trouble can they cause?" Although it was a rhetorical question, John Guo and Long just didn't know how to answer. "Yes. With Yuan here, who can stir up trouble?" John Guo suddenly felt bored and even wanted to leave directly, but the ship they were on suddenly floated into the sky, making it impossible for him to leave. In the blink of an eye, the ship that Yuan was on came into the sky, just in time to look down at the battlefield of Elbaf. They had a panoramic view of the entire battle. Strangely enough, no one from Elbaf was able to detect the existence of the ship. "We are taller than them," said Long Yu. "Wouldn't it be faster if we grabbed the fragments now?" Garp's eyes lit up and he glanced at Long. It was obvious that the two of them were thinking the same thing. Akainu's eyes widened, thinking, "Is this possible?" Kizaru raised his eyebrows and instantly became interested. There was a slight chill around Akiji. "Just stay still." As soon as these words were spoken, everyone who had just been thinking about this suddenly became dispirited. Garp smacked his lips, his face full of regret. Even John Guo felt a little regretful. But they all realized that Yuan wanted to be a spectator, so they just stood on the boat and watched the show. As for other things, I simply don't think about them. "Just you?" The golden lion was standing on a huge rock, floating in the air and sneering. But just as he finished speaking, a fist wind with terrifying impact force came over, and the huge rock under his feet was instantly squeezed into flying dust. "Snort!" The golden lion snorted coldly, and waved his 2 swords, slashing out like a galloping lion. Boom! The vibration that resounded through the sky swept away with the air. It was Loki who attacked the golden lion. The confrontation between the two was filled with a strong clash of conquerors' dominance. The spreading impact merged into the sea water, instantly creating huge waves more than 10 meters high that spread into the distance. Moreover, the waves not only did not subside, but became even bigger. If this wave spreads to the end, it may be a devastating tsunami. This is also the reason why Zhang Guo and Long have to prepare a protective shield on the periphery. "Not good!" Zhang Guo's face changed. "It's going to cause another tsunami," Long said in a serious voice, preparing to take action. Suddenly, the waves below seemed to be drained of all their strength, and merged back into the sea like a mountain collapsing. Zhang Guo and Long were slightly startled, then looked at the figure and fell silent. "Yeah, what are you worrying about? This guy is here, what does that have to do with us?" Zhang Guo and Long suddenly came to their senses and were no longer worried about the noise caused by the fight below. They all started watching the battle. Do whatever you want. It's no longer something they can worry about. The offensive of Golden Lion Shiki and Loki slowly dissipated, and the two of them only attacked from a distance. "Ha ha ha, is that the extent?" Golden Lion Shiki bit his cigar and laughed with raised eyebrows. "Uncle Shiki, don't underestimate him. His strength is not inferior to yours, Charlotte reminded. Ha! I didn't expect that someone would come to Elbaf to steal things. If you don't plan to leave, I won't be polite. Loki's eyes were still wrapped in bandages, and his loud voice shook the people. Eardrum. He is very arrogant. Also very domineering. Leaving is impossible. I don't need that fragment. I just gathered so many people with great difficulty, and I want to let you know who is the strongest. Charlotte slowly drew out the blue devil and declared more domineeringly. They fused the fragments of will in order to comprehend that trace of will power, and then walk out on their own path of will. Except Charlotte didn't need it. It's just that fusing the fragments will bring about an increase in strength. Hey, you're not that old at all. Why are you crazier than your dad? Kaido couldn't help but complain. He remembered that he wasn't so crazy when he first met Yuan. I see. I didn't expect that we had the same idea, Luffy said with a smile as he walked forward. He felt it was much more interesting than searching for a great secret treasure. Strength is king. Everyone wants to be the final king. Then let's do it head on. Zoro, Sanji, Jinbei, Chopper and others followed behind Luffy. The era of the four emperors hasn't ended yet. Lucky Lu took a bite of the meat leg and shouted suddenly. Shanks led the pirate group and walked forward. Mama! Shanks, don't meddle in young people's affairs! Big Mom glanced at Shanks' pirate group with cold eyes, and then led the Big Mom pirate group to stop Shanks. Kaido set his sights on Luffy. Who is stronger now in the past 3 years? The Straw Hat Pirates, the Heart Pirates, and the Kid Pirates, 3 pirate groups came from 3 directions. Uncle Golden Lion, I'll leave that big guy to you. Charlotte shouted upwards. The change in the situation is no longer a matter of fighting for fragments. It's about competing for the upper hand. Who is stronger? Whose power is stronger? The forces behind Charlotte are clearly more powerful. But precisely because of this, we have to face all forces. Ha! Don't worry, Lousy is not those 2 old guys Garp and Sengoku. The Golden Lion Shiki laughed loudly, then swung his 2 swords and killed Loki. What giant prince? Lousy has been with Yuan for 40 years. Although Loki is said to be very scary, the Golden Lion is not afraid of him. Straw Hat Boy, let me see how far you have come! Kaido picked up the mace in one hand and rushed towards Luffy. But at this moment, the raging flames burned fiercely. Fire Fist! Sabo finally arrived and stopped Kaido. He was originally in the Revolutionary Army, and when he saw the complicated situation, he rushed forward. Sabo didn't know that Yun had returned. Sabo, long time no see! Luffy laughed happily. You are such a worry! Sabo shook his head helplessly in response. Hee hee! Luffy laughed. Kaido blocked the impact of the Fire Fist, his eyes fixed. A member of the Revolutionary Army? Then I'll kill you first! After that, thunderous 8 trigrams burst out and rushed towards Sob that was blocking in front of him. A battle between the 2 broke out instantly. On a warship in the sky, a blue figure came from afar and landed on the warship, saluted to Yuan and said, Lord Yuan! You are back? The person who came was the Phoenix Marco. He originally did not intend to participate, but later when he heard that all the strong men had gathered, he could not help but come over to take a look. Unexpectedly, he saw the long-lost figure on the marine warship from afar, and he rushed over immediately. The method used by Yuan only blocked the front from being discovered, but it could still be seen from the back. Well, you're a little late. Yuan turned his head slightly and glanced at Marco, who had become much stronger. I just came here to take a look out of curiosity. My strength is all thanks to you, sir, Marco said respectfully. His fruit awakening was all thanks to Yuan. While they were talking, fighting broke out again below. Room! Luo used the power of the Operation Fruit and took the lead in attacking Charlotte. Swish! Thunder flashes. Get lost! A cold and indifferent shout exploded in the thunder. Luo's figure kept flickering and was forced back by the lightning. Is that you? Luo raised his head and looked at the person who made the move. It's Enel. You are not worthy to fight with the young master. Enel's eyes were calm and his expression was indifferent. Then let's give it a try. Luo narrowed his eyes slightly. He was very unhappy to be treated in such a tone. His eyes flashed with a sharp edge and he immediately launched an attack. The two launched attacks and entangled with each other. Except for the Straw Hat Boy, no one else should go over there. Hawkeye drew out the black sword Yi and stood in front of Luffy and the others. Crocodile stood beside him to show his support. That's right, all of you stay where you are, Buggy yelled. Luffy ignored them and walked past Hawkeye and Crocodile. The two of them also understood each other tacitly and did not stop it. They all saw that Luffy was the only one who could rival Charlotte. I have finally waited for this day. Zoro looked at Hawkeye, his fighting spirit surging. Oh? If you want to surpass me, it's not just talk. Hawkeye raised his eyebrows, and the black knife flashed with a cold light at night. He has been waiting for this battle for a long time. Crocodile, I didn't expect you to help them. Jinbei walked out and said to Crocodile. We are the Crusaders. Crocodile bit his cigar and spoke in a very natural tone. Given the relationship between Hawkeye and Charlotte, they would naturally stand on Charlotte's side. Then let me meet you. Jinbei made a starting move. Sand Blade! Crocodile launched his attack without hesitation. And the other side. Sanji was still moving forward. You're pretending not to see me, aren't you? Buggy's body was separated, his feet still on the ground, his body blocking Sanji, shouting loudly. You want to stop me? Sanji frowned slightly, looking a little incredulous. Asshole, asshole! What's that tone of voice? I'm not someone you can easily mess with! Buggy yelled in rage.